The inaugural season of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship is past halfway, and its reputation for action is growing by the race. Brothers Ricky and Jordan Taylor lead the prototype class for their family team over the duo of Joao Barbosa and Christian Fittipaldi. But the recent event at Watkins Glen produced two new contenders in the Visit Florida machine and the pole-sitting Morgan Nissan. In the GT Le Mans class, a third consecutive win for Corvette Racing at the Glen put them firmly in the points lead. But rival manufacturers BMW, Viper, Porsche, and Ferrari are right on their heels, keeping the heat on. And the season-long GT Daytona class leading Ferrari team hopes to stay out front today as all three classes gather at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, a fast and fearsome circuit that will punish the slightest mistake. It's game on in Ontario right now on Fox Sports. The second half of the inaugural TUDOR United SportsCar Championship begins north of the border. Welcome to the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix presented by Hawk Performance. Canadian tourism used to go by the motto, friendly, familiar, foreign, and near. And it has certainly been all of those here about an hour east of Toronto, Canada, at a track that's been the home of Canadian motorsport since it opened in 1961 as Mosport. It is now Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It has hosted virtually every major form of motorsports in the world, and thus it's a very appropriate place for the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship to make its Canadian debut. Hi everybody, I'm Bob Varsha, along with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader, two guys each of whom has at least one victory on this gnarly old racetrack. And today, Calvin, it could produce the turning point of the championship.
Well, absolutely, Bob. This championship is really coming to a boil quite nicely. The number 90 Visit Florida team really had a great race at Watkins Glen. The victory there has really put them into championship contention. It was a real cat and mouse game that day, and I expect to see more of the same thing here at this racetrack. But when you think about this racetrack from a team's perspective, it really has to be managed very carefully. It's very challenging. It is high speed. 3 times do you reach speeds of 150 miles an hour plus. So if you make a mistake here, Dorsey, it'll not only put a big dent in the race car, but also a big dent in your championship aspirations.
Well, you're right. I mean, Mosport is old school, bad, fast racetrack. You make a mistake, you're going to pay a big price. And unfortunately, just a short time ago, Memo Rawhouse found this out as he comes down turn 2, hits a little puddle, and slams a barrier. Now remember, this 01 Ganassi car had not one, but 2 huge crashes 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Over $100,000 in damage. That'll cut your budget down if you're looking at a championship, and this is a tough place.
And those puddles were on the racetrack because we had some very heavy weather come through this morning, but now we have hot temperatures and, as you see, blue skies overhead as we get ready to race. Now with more on the prototype category, here's Brian Till in the pit lane.
Well, a lot of talk about the Prototype Drivers' Championship has centered around first and second, seeing that they're only 3 points apart. But that does not mean that the rest of the teams and drivers have been locked out, not by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, last time out, Michael Valiente, Richard Westbrook, they won at Watkins Glen. They sit third in the championship, only 10 points out of the lead. That team has momentum. Talk about momentum. Gustavo Jacquemin from Oak Racing is a mere 2 points further back in 4th position in his P2-based prototype, and this weekend became the only team to repeat the prototype pole this season. And 5-time champion Scott Pruitt, teammate Memo Rojas, the only 2-time winners this season, sit 5th, another 3 points shy of Jacquemin and their Ford Riley from Chip Ganassi Racing. All told, only 18 points separate the top 5 in the Drivers' Championship. To win it this year, you're going to have to excel in every race for every lap and leave all of your excuses at home, guys.
All right, thanks very much, Brian. 3 of the 4 classes in the TUDOR SportsCar Championship are being in competition today. We will not have the Prototype Challenge cars. There you see the GT Le Mans category standings as tight as they could be. 20 points covering the top 7 drivers with 35 points for a victory. More on GTLM right now with Jamie Howe.
Well, Bob, we can't talk about GTLM without mentioning manufacturer rivalries. And Corvette versus Viper is an old-school American muscle rivalry that goes all the way back to 1999. This year, that showdown has been reborn, and it was never more evident than in the last race at Watkins Glen. There it was the number 3 Corvette of Jan Magnussen and Antonio Garcia, who got their 3rd consecutive win and took over the points lead. But the pair of SRT Vipers was right there with them on the podium. Here, Montreal's own Kuno Whitmer has claimed the class pole position in the number 93 Viper, but right beside them on the grid is that number 3 Corvette. This is an old school track, and with a pair of BMWs, a trio of Porsches, and a Ferrari in the mix, you can expect to see an old school race that goes all the way down to the checkered flag.
No question about that, Jamie. Thank you. Now here's a look at the GT Daytona, the third of the 3 classes in competition here today. As you can see, another tight championship, 20 points covering the top 6 driver pairings. Time to take a closer look at, I know, a track that's close to your heart, Dorsey, with our Mazda track map.
Well, you take a look at Motorsport, as we used to call her, 10 turns, 2.5 miles just about, extremely high speed. Calvin said, down this section, 150 miles an hour. Another 150 mile an hour run here, and of course the big straightaway. A lot of elevation change here. Everything times you go off the road. On this side, you go off the road on that side. You go downhill, and there's going to be something waiting for you when you get there.
Oh boy, it'll be exciting. Calvin, how about our Tudor keys to victory?
Well, you need to respect turns 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I think you get the picture. You have to really respect this whole racetrack. Traffic management, big cornering speed differential between the 3 classes, and having the speed in the right place. So we saw it at the Glen. You need it on the straightaway. Maybe here will be more the cornering factor.
Through the S's goes the field. We expect the Viper pace car will be off the track, and the field of 37 will be on its way. Across the front row, Gustavo Yakiman in that P2 open cockpit black and pink machine. Next to him, Scott Sharp in the first of the ESM Honda-powered machines. And updating the story on the Ganassi number 01 for Memo Rojas and Scott Pruitt, they will not take the green flag with the field. We're underway at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Big move by Michael Valiente. Dives down the inside of Scott Sharp. Can he take that second spot away as they head down into turn 2? He does.
Keep in mind, this track was sopping wet for most of the morning. You still see puddles on the outside and the runoff area. It's a very green racetrack.
These are exploratory laps, no doubt about it. These guys are being really brave right now. There are puddles left, Bob. You're right about that. This is a slippery track.
Wow, Sharp looked vulnerable there. Fittipaldi was looking for a way through down into turn 3. Now he looks to the outside. We're on board here with Ricky Taylor.
Headed down into Moss Corner is the hardest braking right here. The slowest part of the racetrack, 52 miles an hour. You're in it now.
Now we get on one of those high-speed straightaways. Remember at the Glen, the DP machines, the ones that are closed cockpit, have a bit more straightaway speed than the P2 cars, the open cockpit machines you'll see here today. And you're seeing it right up in front. A sharp defense from Fittipaldi.
He's on the inside of a very fast turn 8. This is a sweeper. You barely lift for it, and that stays like a constant.
Look at this, Fittipaldi to the inside, really aggressive.
But he'll have to go around the outside in turn 10, and he can't get there.
Watch Ricky Taylor over and under. He tries to make a move on Fittipaldi.
And they bump. They hit right there. This is down in turn 1.
You can't go through.
Oh, he's defending. He's defending. Fittipaldi tried to squeeze him into the pit wall. There's damage on the right rear corner on Fittipaldi's car.
Loosened the lower body work up, Calvin, on Fittipaldi. I don't know about the left front of the 10. It took a hit, too.
Christian realized he didn't get off that corner well, tried to close the gap, and Ricky was forcing his way through.
Wow, what an opening couple of laps.
Yeah, so much for the wet track.
Yeah, right. Everybody being careful? Nope.
Remember Detroit, that 5 and 10, they traded a lot of paint that day for the victory.
Yeah, there were some hard feelings after that event. Now let's check the GT Le Mans category, where Kuno Whitmer, the local kid from Montreal, Canada, took pole. That's him up ahead on the road as you ride in the Corvette of Jan Magnussen.
Big day for that Viper. They took the pole here last year with Jonathan Bomarito, his teammate behind the wheel that day. Went on to score a podium finish. But right now, they really seem to have the measure of this racetrack. Kuno says it's really my home track. I have literally thousands of laps around this place. If I have an advantage, it would be here.
That makes sense around this racetrack. This is a hard racetrack to learn. There's a lot of corners that are blind. They're all extremely
he's
fast.
Sideways there. He nearly lost control of that Viper.
That was a good save. That was a really high-speed save.
And Magnussen is right there on his gearbox.
You're transitioning there through turns 9 and 10. Car just got squirrely on him. He lost the rear end of the car. A nice save, but that will really go straight to his brain, Dorsey. He'll be thinking about, do I have the car underneath me right now?
Yeah, that'll wake you up right there. That was a 140-mile-an-hour slide that could have ended the day just that quickly. You cannot make mistakes here. You'll pay a big price.
And the car right behind him is the team that is on a roll. They're going for their 4th consecutive victory of the season. The number 3 Corvette of Jan Magnussen and Antonio Garcia.
Now we understand the 5-car, Christian Fittipaldi, we saw his coming together with Ricky Taylor and suffering some damage for it. He's now been given a furled black flag. That's a warning on sportsmanship grounds. You don't want to get another. It's like a yellow card in the World Cup. You get another one, you may be visiting the pits. On to the Mario Andretti straight. Hardly straight, as you can see.
I was about to say, it's anything but straight, actually. It's uphill, it's undulating, it's got a lot of turns in it, and it'll catch you off if you don't watch it. The cars get very light coming over that hill. We used to actually do wheelies over that before they shaved it off.
There's the 4 Corvette going by one of the Mazda Skyactiv diesel prototypes to Brian Till.
Well, Antonio Garcia, not the only one, has a great view of the 93 of Kuno Whitmer getting loose in front of him. Dan Binks just on the radio, the crew chief, saying, you're making him put pressure on him, you're putting pressure on him, you're making him get loose right now. Keep it up, keep it up.
Great to see those Vipers out there in that red and white livery they introduced at Watkins Glen, recalling all the success that team had at the turn of the millennium. We understand Viper production has resumed after a short hiatus, and that should be good news for the Dodge Viper SRT racing program. On board with the GTD leader now, the number 94 Turner Motorsports BMW.
Driven right now by Marcus Paltala. This is another team coming off a huge win at Watkins Glen, their second of the season. They also won at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Since that time, they've been given what we call a balance of performance check. 30 kilos were added to that car. That should slow the car down into the cornering areas, particularly, and acceleration off these corners. But they got 2 really good drivers, a good team, good setup on the car. The car is looking good here as it leads once again.
There's the GTD version of the Viper. So you have BMW, Viper, and Porsche running 1, 2, and 3 in GT Daytona.
Top 15 cars in GTD qualified within 1 second. That's how competitive that field is. That's unbelievable.
And in the GTD category, you have what are called Pro-Am drivers. These are drivers who do not make their living from driving race cars. So the makeup of the driving squad has to include one of these type guys. And what happens at the start of these races, they put their Pro-Am driver into start. They want their finishing driver, should be the quickest driver in the lineup to finish off the race. So right now we're seeing the Pro-Am drivers behind the wheel. But as you can see, they're really talented as well.
Plunging down the hill from turn 2, headed for turn 3. This is where Memo Rojas had his crash this morning that has apparently taken one quick prototype car out of today's race. We'll be back.
'14 marks a new era for sports car racing in North America with the debut of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship. The TUDOR Championship brings together the best of 2 series that ran in parallel for more than a decade. The Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series and the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron are now one organization under IMSA sanction. This year's inaugural 13-race schedule includes internationally recognized events such as the Rolex 24 at Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, the 6 Hours of the Glen, and the Petit Le Mans.
The TUDOR Championship includes 4 classes of competition, again bringing together the best of both worlds. The marquee prototype category pairs the Daytona prototypes from the Rolex series with cars that competed in the ALMS P2 class, plus the revolutionary Delta Wing DWC 13.
The single-make prototype challenge class is virtually unchanged from 2013 when it was part of the ALMS. There are also 2 Grand Touring divisions. The former ALMS GT, recognized as the best racing of its kind in the world, continues as GT Le Mans, while the Rolex Series GT and the ALMS GTC divisions have evolved into GT Daytona, a class including vehicles similar to European GT3 machinery.
Back live at Bowmanville, Ontario at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Here on FS1, Bob Varsha along with Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish, Jamie Howe and Brian Tiller in the pit lane. You ride with the pole-sitting prototype Morgan Nissan in the hands of Gustavo Yacamon of Colombia. He's passing slower traffic. Those are GTD machines. And you You could see the speed differential between the prototypes and the production-based cars.
Yeah, we talked about it. Traffic management will be key, particularly on those elevation changes. You come up over the hill in turn 2, and a GTD car is probably going to be 30 to 40 miles an hour slower through the middle of that corner. So these guys have to really be looking ahead. Some of the teams have spotters in the corners to really keep the drivers aware of any slower cars up ahead.
And what helps is that we don't have any PC class cars running at this event. Otherwise, you'd add another 10 cars in the middle of that, and things would be very congested.
Gustavo Jacquemin was just sensational here in qualifying. It turned into a bit of a shootout between he and Ryan Dalziel for the pole, but he seemed to have the margin. And second pole in a row as Brian Tiltola's at the head of the show for this team. We've had 7 different pole-sitting drivers because it was young Alex Brundle, the Brit, who took the pole in this car at the last round of the championship at Watkins Glen.
And did the same thing, just kept going quicker and quicker and quicker. Let's hear from Jacquemin's teammate now with Brian Till.
Well, Alex Brundle shares the car with Jacquemin part of the time. Olivier Pla the rest of the season. Olivier, I know yesterday in qualifying, the car was a little bit loose for Gustavo. With the rain that came in overnight, were you guys able to make a pretty good educated guess as to how to settle the car down for the race?
Hello, after qualifying yesterday, we find the car a little bit oversteering, so we try to work on it. And at the moment, I don't think he's complaining about this, so it's looking good.
How important is it for a P2-based car to pull several car lengths between turn 1 and turn 5 to try to keep the top speed of the Daytona prototypes behind them?
Yeah, of course, I think here is easier than it was in Watkins. So we know that the first part of the track is an advantage for us, but the long straight after is going to make our life, I think, difficult in the traffic. But let's see. At the moment, it's quite good, but it's still a long race and long fight, I think.
A long race and a long fight, and this racetrack almost completely opposite of Watkins Glen. I think you guys already talked about it. The long straight at the end of the lap here at Watkins Glen was in the first half.
Well, Gustavo Jacquemin came under a lot of flack earlier in the season for his aggressiveness on the racetrack. But as Calvin pointed out, boy, oh boy, in qualifying, the guy is just lightning. Time for a 30-second break with a message from Audi. We'll be right back. Back live at the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, Ontario, within sight of the Lake Ontario shore, about an hour east of Toronto, Canada. We're on board one of the GTB Flying Lizard Audis, the 45 car. There is the class leader, the bright yellow and blue. Excuse me, sorry. The 33 has passed. Ben Keating in the blue and white Viper leads Marcus Pautala in the yellow BMW.
And that Z4 is pretty prone here on these straightaways, Dorsey. It creates a little bit of drag here. As you can see, the other cars seem to have a bit more straightaway speed. Here we see Mario Farnbacher moving up to the second spot in the Alex Job Racing Team Seattle Porsche. So the BMW that led earlier has dropped back to third.
And on the other hand, the Vipers have shown to be horses for courses, as we say, very good here at this racetrack.
It's a 2-hour, 45-minute race kicking off the second half of the TUDOR United Sports Car season. Strategy will definitely come into play as you take a look at the Finn Pautala.
And these are the turns very much like the P2 cars in the prototype carrier. This little Z4 really has great handling, so this section of the racetrack will be really good. But look at this. Farnbacher is on the charge. He's really starting to put the pressure on Keating. I think Keating may have had a bit of a moment in turn 2, and he's going for the lead right now.
I'll say Keating is playing pretty good defense because the Porsche moves back and forth. Can't find the way by.
You got to think, though, that the Viper has the edge on this long. Oh, and he gets loose under braking. On the straightaway, was I was going to say, the Viper should have the best grunt up this long straight. And with 3 places on this racetrack where you're going that quick, I think it pays dividends.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe he just pushed it really hard and maybe overheated those tires a little bit in this early going, but Ben Keating definitely seemed to be struggling a bit in the first half of the lap, which is all of the really high-speed cornering sections. Settles it back down here, has a nice little comfort margin here as we head into turn 8 and 9. Really nice part of the racetrack, great transition there.
On board the 93 Viper, Kuno Whitmer now.
See a GTD car right behind him, splitting him from Jan Magnussen in that yellow Corvette that you now see passing the GTD Audi along this main Mario Andretti straightaway.
Of course, Viper now leading both classes.
There's Kuno Whitmer's mom and dad. Patrick and Lynn watching their son in action. Did some of his earliest racing of his career here when the track was known as Mosport. He's grown up, as Calvin mentioned. He's got a zillion laps. It's his home track. He's on pole for the GTLM division. Could be a big day for Kuno Whitmer and Dodge Viper SRT.
Yeah, a really proud moment for Kuno and that family, of course. And all of his teammates said Kuno's the man around here. He was the first to try and go flat through turn 4. When Mark Goossens is telling you that he's one of the bravest drivers in the paddock, that really means something.
His wife Sabrina is also here, quite pregnant.
Oh, this is trouble out in the gray area. Oh. Rick, you can't make that car turn. He's off in the grass.
And wet grass it is, too.
This is turn 3.
Oh, look at the radiator.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, he'll be visiting the pit lane shortly, next lap. Oh, here he is.
Right now.
Wow, these guys can't catch a break. There are championship leaders. Remember, Max Angeletti got a pit lane penalty at Watkins Glen in the last round. Now we're on board with him.
And listen to the...
Ooh, that was weird. It just took off on him. He must have had a little bobble there and had to straighten the wheel door, so he had steering input.
Yeah, and it put him right away in the gray area over there.
Wow, to Brian.
Guys, I see a little bit of damage to the left front. Obviously, the grass on the radiator, but damage from the left front from when he was mixing it up with Christian Fittipaldi a little bit earlier. Continental Tire on the left rear, right side, and they'll get it back underway. At least the problem has happened early in the event. Took a little bit of time to get that right rear on. They've got time to come back. They just need to be calm. They need to focus on their plan.
Problem is, just coming down pit lane at the correct speed limit costs you 27 seconds, plus the stop there. We probably lost about 50 seconds there.
I wonder if those temperatures rose and how far while he was making it to the pit. We'll be back with more on the GT Daytona class. Stay with us.
Where you want to, you can run where you may, but nothing on earth gonna save you when the man comes down your way.
So much history over the years at what was Mosport. It's now Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. On board with the Mazda Skyactiv diesel number 70 prototype car, go to foxsports.com/motor for live onboard video streams of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship from today's race. Do it now. Sylvain Tremblay at the controls of that prototype. His Speed Source company builds and develops the machines. He's also one of 5 Canadian drivers running in his home race today. The others, Kuno Whitmer, who started from pole in GTLM, Michael Valiente in the prototype ranks, Chris Green and Mark Thomas driving together in a Porsche 911 in the GTD category. Welcome home, guys. Now let's go to Jamie Howe in the pit lane.
And with Jerome Bleckemole. Jerome, that qualifying lap that you put on, I understand it was within 8 thousandths of the best possible predictable lap. But now that we're in race conditions, what do you guys have to keep in mind over the course of a stint?
Well, the car is usually pretty good on tires, so I think we just have to keep consistency, but it's going great. Ben is doing a really good job. I know he's been fast with this car all year. He's even had the fastest race lap of our car a couple of times, so we know he can do it, and he's leading there, so he's having fun.
I saw you up on the radio with him. What was he saying when he was in that battle with the BMW?
Yeah, he's pretty happy. I think Marcus in the BMW made a small mistake and he got him back. He lost the position at the start, but he got it back, so it's great. Hopefully he can keep it up, but it looks pretty good.
Thank you, Drew.
What Jamie's talking about when she says the predictive lap, what they do, they can analyze the various segments around a racetrack, and you may have a lap where you're really good in turn 1, but you miss that a little bit. The next lap, you're really good in turn 2. The best predictive lap is if you put all of the corners together, Dorsey, and he was within 8 thousandths of doing that, so that's really what they call almost the perfect lap.
It's kind of like playing the video game you got at home, only this one will kill you.
Yeah.
I like Jerome's hat, Born to Drive. Do they sell those down in the paddock?
Boy, he's one of the busiest drivers in the paddock, Bob. He's always driving something, and he's one of those guys who did 54 hours of racing in 3 weeks the other week.
Now, moments ago, you're on the 912 Porsche. Watch the 45 Audi up ahead, and There's a little bit of jarring there. Was there contact?
Yeah, I think so. A little help from my friend, if you will. Just let him know I'm in here.
We are 14 and a half minutes into the race to Brian Till.
5 is in. Christian Fittipaldi, flat left rear. A scrub is going on. That's a tire that's been run already. So they'll change the left rear, and now a hang-up. Looks like they're having problems. In fact, there was some body work that was lodged up on the inside, and that has delayed the application of that left rear. Wheel that came off is bent, and now they've gone to the right side. This is a long, long stop to get the 5 back on track.
Yeah, that bent wheel is indication that he's made side-to-side contact with someone out there. That, of course, deflated the tire.
And Michael Valiente wasn't that far behind him, but we didn't see those guys in close contact here. We're taking a look at it.
The tire just delaminates, partially.
But if you look at the wheel, the wheel's got
damaged.
a big dent in it, which means it lost pressure.
That could have been, though, when he comes in, though, Dorsey. If he has to run over any sort of like uneven surfaces, he gets the car back to pit lane, it could have put that impact in the rim as well.
Checking my time, we are 24 minutes and change into the race. My math has gone on summer vacation. So the 5 falls down the leaderboard, but he is back on his way. We'll take a break for 30 seconds for a message from Chrysler. Welcome back live to Bowmanville, Ontario, and the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix, part of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship inaugural season here in 2014. You're on board with the race leader and the leader in the prototype class, Gustavo Yackaman, with a 10.7-second lead over Michael Valiente. Now on board the 93 Dodge Viper SRT in the hands of pole sitter Kuno Whitmer, looking back at the number 3 Corvette of Jan Magnussen.
It's a drag race up this Andretti straightaway. You see there, Magnussen isn't even really using the draft there, Dorsey. I'm not sure if he's seeing, oh, there you see, he's picking up a draft from the other car. That was why he wasn't right in line of stern behind the red and white Viper.
I was going to say the same thing, Kevin. I think maybe things get running a little hot.
Yeah.
But it was actually, he was over there pulling a draft off the other side, which is smart.
V10 versus V8 power. To Brian.
Joao Barbosa here at Action Express, and we saw the 5 just in. Christian Fittipaldi had a little contact with the 10 early on, but that was on the opposite side. What happened to the left rear?
It seems like he got together with one of the GT cars, apparently the 912. It's not the first time that happened. Those Porsche drivers, I don't know what they're thinking, but they're racing the prototypes. It's not their fight. It should just make it easy for everybody and not racing us. And unfortunately, I don't think it's the first time. I had some issues before, even on practice, but you know, it's racing and still a long way to go. Hopefully we're going to be able to catch back.
One of the lows of multi-class racing, guys.
And we've heard that from a few of the prototype teams this weekend, complaining about the Porsche factory drivers in the number 911 and the 912. They see the prototype cars coming. They don't want to give up any of their lap time. So what they do is they kind of turn into the corner a little bit early. The prototype guys are getting anxious, trying to force their way through. And there you see the consequences if you don't have that patience.
And you see that rim when the outside lip is bent up like that, it's normally because a tire has been in there and peeled it up. Then you deflate the tire, you run around it flat for a little while, and the carcass comes off. That's what we saw. It's not a tire failure. It was actually due to damage and the loss of air.
Magnussen keeping the heat on Whitmer here for the lead in GTLM. Look at the speed of these corners. Turn 1, something else. Then they're up to about 140 miles an hour here as they plunge over the hill.
Lift of the throttle there.
Settle the car back down again.
Unbelievable speed right here where they are going into 3. 140 mile per hour run right there.
This place is just wicked fast.
Yeah, and you just dare not get off. Remember, it rained this morning, but even if it hadn't rained, just look at the way the racetrack's built. With the exception of this corner, all of these corners, you're running into a downhill situation if you get off the track. And once you get off, you're just done.
Slowest corner on the racetrack there, 5B, Moss Corner as they call it. Then, hard on the powder, the fastest section of the racetrack.
Named Moss for Sir Sterling Moss, who won the very first racing event here at what was then known as Mossport back in June of '61. In fact, that corner was a hairpin turn, and Sir Sterling suggested they divide it into 2 corners to slow the cars and give the fans a little more time to watch them as they went by. Track builders decided to do it. They decided, hey, while we're at it, we'll name it for one of the sport's great legends. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You ride with Scott Sharp in the third-placed open-top Honda prototype. Time for our Honda news and notes. Honda 2.8-liter turbo in this car. They're going to bring a Star Works Daytona prototype, it is rumored, to the big race at Road America later this summer with a 3.5-liter motor. BOP, or balance of performance adjustments, for the Ford Riley prototype and the BMW in the GT Daytona class are in place for this race. And we understand that Ford Motor Company is contemplating waking up the echoes of its success back in the 60s at the 24 Hours of Le Mans with a prototype in the P2 class at Le Mans using its EcoBoost Twin Turbo 6.
On board here with Scott Sharp. He has quite the record here at this racetrack, Dorsey. 3 Trans Am wins and 3 other wins here, including in this type of competition. So he's very comfortable with the racetrack, and that is really making a statement because this is a true driver's circuit. You have success here, you can probably win races anywhere in the world.
Yeah, Scotty, one of the winningest drivers at this facility. Like you say, I raced against him several times in Trans Am in the time. But like you say, he's grown up around this type of track. He's very comfortable here, and that's what it takes to go quickly.
Well, this is one of the teams that do have experience here at this racetrack, running regularly in the ALMS series. With the merger, we've got a lot of Grand Am teams competing here for the very first time. So there's a big advantage for the ALMS teams here this weekend in terms of having a notebook to work from in terms of the setup on the race car, what it really dictates to be fast here at this race circuit.
Exactly the reverse of what we saw 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, where the Rolex Series drivers had lots of experience. The former American Le Mans Series stars had none.
It's a tough track to set a car up for because it is a bit bumpy. I mean, this is not the smoothest track you've ever seen. But there's such high downforce, there's such high speed that you need to run a lot of spring rate in the car to hold it up off the ground, and that's not what bump's like at all.
Let's get more from Corvette Racing now with Brian.
Well, Ollie Gavin, one of those drivers that certainly has experience here, and obviously the Corvette, the new C7, very quick, Ollie, but you look at the Viper and the resurgence there. I know the competition, you guys love it, but what are you going to need to get past it, especially this weekend? The Viper, awfully quick.
I think we're going to need a huge toe to get past the Viper. I mean, it seems to be very quick on the straight. You know, it's always a great battle between us, you know, our two cars, and, you know, it's going to be super tight. But it's great racing always, you know. There's Tommy's running in third right now, and he's got Dominic behind him in fourth. He's very reminiscent of last year, a super close finish where Tommy came out the winner. We're hoping that we're going to have a very similar result today. We seem to have a small chassis imbalance at the moment. Tommy's complaining that the car is pretty loose right now. I think that's just due to all the rain washing all the rubber off. So we're just working through that. I think I'm going to be getting in at the first stop, so we'll do the driver change there and just see how it goes, really.
The 4 drivers here, all factory drivers. Your goal is to win a championship, not for yourselves, but for Corvette Racing. Right now, the 3 car has a little bit of an edge. How much competition is there between the 3 and the 4?
There's always competition. It's a healthy competition, a healthy rivalry. But the guys in the 3 car have done a fantastic job over the last 3 races. They've won all 3, and I'm sure they're chasing the 4th, but so are we. You know, so we're all working hard to get that golden setup and get ourselves all the way to the front. And it's certainly super competitive in the GTLM class, but our C7R has been running pretty well so far over this weekend. So, you know, I feel that we just got to be there for that last stop and then race it to the end. And, you know, it's going to be close. We know it's going to be hard, but, you know, we're ready for the fight.
And you got to believe that a win will be coming soon for the number 4 Corvette.
And it would not be the first time Corvette Racing has visited Victory Lane here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Racing for many years in the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron. In fact, 10 of the last 14 times they've been here, Corvette has come through with the victory. There's the Falcon Tires GTLM machine. We're going to take a 30-second break for a message from Falcon Tires. Stand by. We'll be right back.
Welcome to one of North America's most daunting racetracks.
You talk about a natural terrain road course, this is it.
Who has got the ponies here? Oh, here we go, literally inches apart. Oh, there's a touch by the leader. If you have an incident here, chances are it's going to be a big one. Oh, man, it's a big hit. Oh, and a huge crash. Oh, up the inside, they make contact. Great racing. Move. Oh, and a problem. Oh, wow. Big air.
No shortage of action at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park over the years. Here's a look at the 3 most successful drivers. Scott Pruitt, unfortunately, not yet in the race when his 01 Ganassi machine was crashed heavily by his teammate Memo Rojas. 5 appearances here, 5 victories for Pruitt. Scott Sharp, 3 LMS class wins, 3 in the old Trans Am series. Jan Magnussen, 5 ALMS class wins with Corvette Racing,
including an overall win with the Panos back in the early days.
Now let's take a look at what happened to Boris Said in practice 2 days ago. This heavy impact with the turn 1 wall. Not sure what broke on the car, but that took the Whelen Corvette out of this event.
Exactly what I'm talking about this racetrack. For Boris, as it came down the straightaway, headed for turn 1, he concentrated on getting his corner entry right, dropped the left side tire into the dirt. It pulled him across the road because it's downhill. He could not slow the car down. He broke a rib in that wreck. He's not here. He's mending up. The car has been completely destroyed and will be taken to Concord to be looked at and analyzed for that crash at the NASCAR facility there.
At the NASCAR technical facility in Concord, North Carolina. Now, the guys from Action Express, the number 5 car right there, decided that Sonny Whelan and his company are such great supporters of motorsports that they should be in this race. And as you see, they put Whelan stickers on the number 5 Action Express car. So we'll call it the Action Express Whelan Corvette for today. And I think that's a great thing for them to do.
Everybody likes that team. You know, they try so hard, and you know, you can't not like Boris and Eric Kern, and they're just good guys, you know, so everybody, they're all friendly.
Good guys are making a huge step from the GT ranks last year up to the prototype ranks for this year, so great to see them, and hopefully we'll see them back at the next round, but a lot of damage to their Corvette in that incident.
And I'm sure Boris is looking in from wherever he is, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Can we tell him jokes? Because that really hurts when you have a broken rib.
That's right. Make him laugh.
On board here with Scott Sharp, who now runs nearly 20 seconds behind, similar to P2 prototype machine of Gustavo Yackerman. He's in the 3rd spot right now, split by Michael Valiante, who's kind of hanging on there, just 7 seconds back of the leader. There's been an ebb and flow to that gap, depending on traffic, of course. You can lose 2 to 3 seconds around this racetrack very easily if you catch the traffic in the wrong spot.
Good engine note from that machine. Moments ago, this is Sylvain Tremblay. We talked about him earlier. He owns the Speed Source company that develops these Mazda Skyactiv diesel prototypes, and the car is being pushed away by the crew. That's not a good sign. Jamie Howe?
Well, hopefully some good news to come. I talked to Jeff Bryan, the technical director over there at Mazda, and he said that they're going to try and fix the issue. They believe it's an oil pump belt that went bad on the car. He said it's not engine related, and they hope to get back out.
Off to the 4 car. Tommy Milner turns it around in the 3rd spot there.
Ollie Gavin said there was an imbalance they were dealing with.
Thought he got into the wall a little bit, guys. Not too bad. It was a tire wall he hit right there. Looks like he just brushed it more than slammed it.
Spoke to Ollie Gavin this morning at length about the start to their year, and he said, oh, another car off the road. Bill Sweedler,
class
championship leader.
Yep, in GTD.
Yeah, now there's 2 guys been off. I wonder if this is not related.
Probably got together with the 4 car.
Oh, look at the back of this car. The back of this Ferrari is twitched over really badly in this corner. Oh, stack up. Real big.
Sweedler was the one who got in there a little bit deep. There's a stack up with the Paul Miller Audi in front of Tommy Milner. He couldn't go anywhere, and Sweedler just got in there a little bit deep.
Yeah, Tommy had nothing he could do about that. Corvette took a good hit, but it looks all right to me.
None the worse for wear.
Yeah.
Getting back to the conversation I had with Ollie Gavin this morning, he said, we've really been struggling with the setup. We finally put both the 3 car and the 4 car on the setup pad following Watkins Glen, and they found something wrong with the setup, the toe as they call it, the way the rear wheels align in the straight ahead position. They run them typically with a little bit of toe in. Imagine if you're kind of pigeon-toed. That's how the cars really have the rear wheels set in the back of the car to give them grip, and the right rear was off, so they really felt that was really contributing to their performance with that number 4 machine.
Bill Sweedler got the Ferrari out of the tire wall, back on track, but going slowly, presumably heading for the pits. Let's learn more from his teammate, Townsend Bell.
Hey guys, Townsend Bell on the radio right now. I don't know that he can talk to us because he's talking Bill Sweedler around after that incident with the 4 car. Townsend, what has he said about the incident? What's he said about the car afterwards?
He simply said he had nowhere to go. I mean, a lot of traffic around him. We've been doing consistent lap times in the Revo car. Got into the wall. The front of the car looks fine. I think the front tire's flat spotted, though. We'll have to see how he does.
He needs an hour in the car, and I know you would have liked to have gotten that hour from the drop of the green. Any chance that you'll take him out before that and then put him back in at the end if he needs to come in now?
No, he's doing a great job. 25 minutes to go, I think, on his drive time, so we'll hopefully get our Ferrari back out there. I'll get in and run to the finish.
They got a championship that they're working on here, guys. They don't want to lose any steps at all in that hunt for it.
Yeah, looking at a replay there, of course, of that incident. What Brian's talking about, the 60 minutes. He has to do 60 minutes. That's one of the rules. The Pro-Am drivers in the GTD category have to do a full 60-minute drive time to score points here today. So that is really a critical part of the strategy here for all of the teams.
We're now 42 minutes into the race, so Bill Sweedler 18 minutes away from fulfilling the minimum 60 minutes required for championship points. We'll be back.
Here they come to the strike. Johnny O'Connell and Ross Fellows will win GTS. And Johnny O'Connell in car number 3 wins GTS. Again, O'Connell and Magnussen get it done. That's what I'm talking about.
I think I need to get dual citizenship. Corvette Racing back on top. Johnny O'Connell in his 100th start takes a victory here at Mosport.
It's the 5th win at Mosport for Jan Magnussen and the 3rd for Oliver Gavin.
Tommy Milner will take the victory. Chevrolet wins.
You get the idea. An astonishing run of success here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, formerly Mosport. 10 wins in the last 14 years at this track. And as you see, the drivers have come and gone, all familiar names. But one constant is America's sports car. Even here in Canada. You're on board the number 3, Jan Magnussen. He and pole sitter Kuno Wittmer in the Dodge Viper SRT, with whom you now ride, are kind of drawn away from the rest of the GTLM field.
Yeah, they're almost within a class of their own, within their own class, so to speak. I mean, they really have dominant race cars here today, pulling away from the rest of this very competitive class. But seeing some Daytona prototypes and P2 machines starting to hit pit lane. They'll do about 45 minutes. Look at that. Michael Valiante, who has hit pit lane, he stayed behind the wheel. No driver change there.
He's got some cold tires. Taking chances in traffic.
Ricky Taylor there in the 10 car right behind. Nice patience there by Ricky.
Yep. To Brian Till.
Gustavo Yakiman to his marks, the Morgan chassis, Nissan power in the back. They'll take 4 new Continental tires, a load of fuel. He is going to stay in the car. They'll have a fresh Olivier Pla for the final stint. Not a mark on this car, and we expected P2 prototypes to be very quick here this weekend. They have indeed been. Jamie?
And the number 1 now taking this chance to make a pit stop, but a different strategy. They're going to go ahead and do that driver change. Scott Sharp is now out of the car. Ryan DL getting his belts on, also giving him 4 new Continental tires. When I talked to Ryan this afternoon, he was saying track position is so important for them here. You guys talked about how they do have the track experience here, but remember, that was last year on Michelin tires. This was the first time that they've been here on the Continentals, and they said that getting that track position is so important. They did start over with that data. Remember, the tire is the only part of the car that touches the racetrack, but they feel like they have a very solid platform for the race today. It was a clean stop.
Took a little longer, though, with the driver change, I think.
Keep those tires under that yellow line at the pit out.
Yeah, I don't think that really delayed them too much. They were really waiting for the tires to be changed there.
As the new leader in class, Michael Valiante, as Calvin pointed out, he made a pit stop. He is now racing lead.
Gives them track position. It's going to be interesting to see how the 2 cars compare now in speed on a lap, now that we've gone this far into the race.
There's a different engine note. Big booming Chevy V8. Well, we understand that Bill Sweedler in the GTD championship class leading Ferrari is going to be called to the pit lane for a penalty for the contact with Tommy Milner's Corvette. Stop and hold plus 45 seconds. There, the black, red, and white Ferrari can't get wound up. Gets into the back right of the Corvette. And there is contact between the Ferrari and it looked like one of the ESM prototypes.
Yeah. And that 63 Ferrari is now behind the pit wall. It got damaged there in that incident. So, you know, when a driver makes a little mistake like that, like Bill did, I mean, this is why they're serving the penalties for what we call avoidable contact. And Bill just got committed to that corner. There was a stack up there. The 4-car had nowhere to go. They got turned around. I don't think there's damage to the Corvette, but certainly affected other cars.
I mean, you look at that, how that happened. Tommy Milner had nothing to do with it. He was there, yes. He did get turned around, but it wasn't his fault. You couldn't fault him. Bill Sweetler, of course, couldn't get his car stopped with the stack up. That's not an excuse, so he gets the penalty.
We're now getting into the heart of this season where we have these 2-hour, 45-minute duration races, and the rules say that these Pro-Am drivers have to do 60 minutes, so it's really a big chunk of the race time. And when these Pro-Am drivers are out there, it's really going to put a lot of emphasis into managing that time correctly, making sure they stay patient, just keeping the car in good shape so that the pro guy can then get behind the wheel.
Now here's the 63 after the damage when he was hit from the back, I believe by that number 2 prototype.
The hood eventually is going to come off this race car. You can see it's just flared up a little bit on that right side, so at speed I'll just peel that back, but it looked like suspension damage. And now we see Bill Sweetler serving that penalty. This is devastating for their championship. Came in here with the lead, but they'll go a lap down here.
They will fall to the back of the GTD category with the title on the line. Now let's get you back to the studio with Greg Wolf for a Fox Sports 1 news update. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, round 7 for the prototype division of the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship here on Fox Sports. Oh. From Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario, we have a big
that was
incident.
A leader, I think.
It was the Viper leader, I believe.
Could see that coming. I think he's trying to go around some traffic. You didn't see him, didn't give him enough room.
There's who we are with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till and Jamie Hauer in the pit lane. I'm Bob Varsha. We're in southeastern Ontario. The track used to be known as Mosport. Let's see what happened to our GTLM leader. Oh, right side wheels off, then the whole car off.
Yeah, that was...
Hairy ride, similar to what you took, Calvin, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Okay, now what do I do?
He's got that big Tudor banner right in front of her. Yeah, he needs to get rid of that.
That's a hot
Look at all this.
Look at that track.
Oh, it's all water and stuff, I think.
So Kuno Whitmer brings the pole-sitting Dodge Viper SRT into the pits. Jamie Howe awaits him.
And he has made it in. There's a lot of damage to the front end of this Viper, though, as he pulled to a stop. Dirt, dust, grass, everything just blew right off of it. Good news for the team, though, they were up on the wall and they were ready. They were already anticipating him in a couple more laps for regular service. They have their work cut out for him here, though. Going ahead and getting the normal service done. The fuel, the tires, the driver change. Now they'll address the issue. They're going to unplug, disconnect it. Looks like everything might stay connected. They're going to go ahead and put it back out.
The lights are still working as Jonathan Bomarito takes over.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, that was John Edwards behind the wheel of the 56. He was trying to go around, and John Edwards had just come out of the pit lane. That was his out lap. So he didn't have the tire temperature that he's probably looking for, and had to use a bit more of the road, and Kuno wasn't expecting that.
That was out the back of the Viper right there. You know what? I think, guys, honestly, I don't think he hurt the car. I think he got away with one. It just lodged the nose. Look at that. I mean, he's digging in really hard right there.
I thought that Tudor barricade was actually the front of the race car.
I thought it was his hood, too. I thought that was coming apart, but actually, I think the car, other than being separated on the left front side.
Escape.
Yeah, it is a huge escape.
And the signage prevented all that dirt and grass from getting to the intakes.
You're right, it did.
That's amazing. To Brian Till.
Number 3 is in. There will be a driver change. Jan Magnussen climbing out. Antonio Garcia climbing in. 4 new Michelin tires. They'll take fuel. This is a routine stop. This team hitting on all cylinders, literally and figuratively. A crew member looking up underneath the back. Looks like he's making a change to the suspension on the left rear. Routine, no hurry down here. Very methodical with this change. Dan Binks has said, I think we can win several more of these races right now. Just waiting on the change. Crew member gives a thumbs up. The 3's away.
Now you gotta love a crew member who's laying on the ground under the car, giving you the signal to send him, send him, send him. I'm fine. Maybe you think so. We'll pause for 30 seconds for a message from General Motors.
Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where we now have scheduled pit stops occurring in all 3 classes. But Kuno, when you came into the pits, there was damage on the front end of that car. What was that ride like from your seat?
Yeah, I mean, I got caught out with the 56 car coming back on track. He came into the braking zone, and he was trying to defend his line and not go a lap down, but it pushed me into the grass, and I don't think there's any major damage. I think, you know, the car's still pretty good. Going into corner 8 on the pit in, I was still able to brake as late as possible. So, but that was a good run with Jan. I mean, he's definitely tough to keep behind.
You're coming off of a strong finish at 3rd place in the last race at Watkins Glen, a pole position here today. What's been the difference with this team?
Just the whole momentum going through. I mean, we've done so much work in the month of June to do well at the 6 hour and to do well here and to keep going through mid-season and of course, red and white stripes.
And you can see how the sweat on Kuno's face. Anybody that says these guys aren't athletes in there, they need to take a look at this.
That's a great stint by him as we see the Risi Ferrari now doing their pit stop. But different ways of looking at it. The Viper team really believed by not going to Le Mans gave them time to really regroup, develop the race car, come out strong when we got the championship going again. You talk to the Corvette team like I did this morning. They're saying, no, we stay sharp. We're race sharp. Our pit stops are good. So 2 different philosophies. They both believe in their own.
You know, and if you're not ready to go to Le Mans, that was a good decision to make. You know, the Corvette team, they are really, really polished. The Viper team had to go through some struggles. They had to redo the car a little bit. Maybe that's a smart call. Maybe both of them are right.
See Ferrari, only Ferrari in the GTLM class continues on its way. On board the number 3 Corvette now, leading the class in the hands of Spaniard Antonio Garcia. Here's a look at how their season has gone. 10th in the season opener, the Rolex 24. Big improvement, approaching the top 5 at the 12 hours of Sebring. And then look at that, Long Beach, Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen. Victory, victory, victory for Garcia and his teammate Jan Magnussen.
The only blip on their radar for about the last 3 months was that they didn't win at Le Mans, but they did finish 2nd, so they came close to winning 4 races in a row, and obviously Le Mans was the big one.
You can be sure they will be back.
Guys, we were talking about the change on the 3 car the mechanic was working on the back. It was a change in rake. That is the angle of the car as it sits there. A little too low in the back, and what that did was create understeer or push off of the corner. By raising the back end of the car a little bit, they've made the rear end a little bit looser. It's a little higher in the air. We'll move a little bit more, and that should make the car turn in and the nose stay tucked underneath it a little bit better in the corners. That's the change we saw the crew member making.
That's a change you don't see very often. That's not an easy change to do. Most guys would go for the wing a little bit or maybe something to help that way, but a rake change makes a lot of sense. It means they know their car pretty well, too.
Here comes one of our leaders in the GTD battle. 94 car peels off as the 33 car still being done. Great job there by Ben Keating, doing a stellar stint here at the beginning of this race. So Marcus Paltella brings that BMW Z4, going for 2 in a row. For their pit stop is going to be Dane Cameron taking over.
You saw the top 5, and you saw Madison.
Oh, he's wide.
Whoa, hold on, baby.
Meanwhile, in the Turner pits, Dane Cameron buckling in after a driver change. That 58 car, Madison Snow, running 5th in the GTD class, started at the back after a track violation this morning. They did too many laps before coming to the grid, and thus were sent to the back of the field. But they're coming.
Sometimes that'll inspire you when it's your fault totally.
And on his way goes Cameron. We'll take another break and return. Pit stops continue here just over the 1 hour mark at the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix. Welcome back. Clouds shadowing Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as the race continues. Don't forget, IMSA.com Race Central is your second screen experience with live in-car cameras, timing and scoring, live pit notes via @IMSA Live Twitter feed. So go to IMSA.com Race Central. Check out all there is there for sports car fans as the race unfolds. Now, the stewards have handed down a couple of penalties after a flurry of pit stops. The number 45 Flying Lizard Audi of Spencer Pompelli and the 94, the Turner Motorsports BMW with Dane Cameron now driving. Both teams will get a stop and hold penalty for equipment that got away from the crew during the stop.
Wow, that's a weird one. You don't hear that call very often, so I'm not sure if there was a wheel nut or some body part or something, but as they left their pit box, obviously something got sprayed, and it is a safety issue, but I've never heard it called before.
Here's Scott Pruitt. I'm sorry.
Hope to see Pruitt and his teammate Memo Riley on track in the Ganassi number 01 car.
No, you did it. Memo
Crashed
Rojas.
heavily by Memo Rojas this morning. We'll have more on that story in a little bit. Right now you're on board with Michael Christensen in one of the factory Porsches, having taken over for America's only Porsche factory driver, Patrick Long.
And getting back to that 0-1 story, big crash by Memo Rojas in the formation lap, bringing the car back to the grid for today's race. They couldn't get fixed in time to see the green, but the rules state both of the drivers in the pro classes, which is GTLM, and the prototype class have to do 20 minutes each. So that's all they're going to be trying to do here. Get Pruitt and Rojas 20 minutes each in that race car to score some kind of points here today.
Look how hard that Porsche is driving up ahead there, trying to keep Bill Oberlin off.
Jumping behind Michael Christensen. Remember, there's been a little bit of contact between the BMWs and these factory Porsches this year, so fierce rivalry growing within these ranks.
Seems like the Porsche guys are just having to drive the car so hard. It doesn't look truly underneath them, you know?
Started the season so strong with wins at Daytona and at Sebring. Look, boy, oh boy, they're going to be tough for the season, but since that time, as they whistle around the outside in turn 2, hasn't gone their way.
Here's a look at the 45 pit stop. Spencer Pompelli in the car. We're looking for the equipment. Let's listen to the
left
radio.
it in gear there. He's left it in gear.
Oh, there goes the tire.
Rear wheels are spinning.
Negative. We had a tire go out in the fast lane.
Saw that one.
And that could have been affected. Maybe the mechanic's arm on the right side of the car got caught by that wheel that was turning. The driver getting out basically left the car in gear. So the car's up in the air and the rear wheels are turning.
Of course, then the mechanic can't get the wheel nut on the nut because it's turning. The worst thing you do is try to put your hand in there and get caught on that tire, and that's a real dangerous situation.
Now let's get more on the 01 situation with Jamie Howe.
Well, Scott Pruitt, it's a good sign to see the team starting to make their way down here, but what is the latest on the condition of the car when it does make it back to the track?
Well, first of all, I just got to say, you know, how disappointed we all are for Ford, for Telmex, for everybody. It's just been another tough day, tough race. The guys are working real hard, getting it all together. It's not 100%. We're just going to get out and get our 20 minutes in for myself, 20 minutes for Memo. That's about all we can do right now. I and my family at home. It's just heartbreaking.
As a driver, when you get in the car knowing that you're getting in just to do the minimum, what do you tell yourself to keep yourself going?
Just get out there and get it done. I mean, stay out of everybody's way. There's nothing to gain, everything to lose. So you just get out there and get you running in. And you know, the Ganassi guys just did a fabulous job putting this thing back together because it hit pretty hard.
The guys in the team tell me we expect to see the car about 10 to 15 more minutes.
And that could be important down the road. Keep in mind, this is round 7 for the prototype cars. They'll have 5 more races in the championship. As you see what Scott Pruitt has accomplished here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. If they can do more than 23 laps, they will pass the now parked number 70 Mazda prototype. And that will move them into 10th place in the category, worth 21 points each to Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas in the championship.
Of course, both of them have to do 20 minutes first to get those points. And with a car that's somewhat wounded.
Here's what happened to Memo Rojas this morning when the track was still damp. Down the hill from turn 2, hit a wet patch and pow.
Yeah, this was only about 75 minutes before the green flag here today, and you can see the damage. The crew assesses the situation. Even Scotty got in there trying to repair some banged up bodywork. They went through 2 rear diffusers and floors at the last round at Watkins Glen, so I'm sure their parts inventory was depleted as well as they try to piece that 0-1 car back together.
Now on board with the 01. There's the 45. We've got another 30-second break coming up with a message from Audi. See you in a half minute. No better view on a nice summer day than out the front of a race car, especially at a track like Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So we welcome you back to the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix. On board with the number 94 Turner Motorsport BMW in the hands of Dane Cameron. Up ahead, Mario Farnbacher in the GTD class leading number 23 Porsche.
Just an update on this 94 car. They have not served a penalty, and that penalty apparently is under review. So what the stewards will do if they hand out a penalty, if the team says, let's look at this again, they'll give them a little bit of time to review the situation, talk to the pit lane officials down there, explain exactly what happened. If there's a good reason for it, maybe they can dodge a big bullet here.
We saw that the 45 car, in fact, kicked the tire out across the active pit lane. That was the reason for the penalty. Unfortunately, we don't have a replay of the exterior of the 94 pit stop. There goes the 01 Telmex car from Ganassi Racing.
It was right there where Memo Rojas had that moment just a few hours ago, and he'll be devastated. And I spoke to him after the wet warm-up. He said the car is treacherous in the wet conditions. He said it is extremely loose, but the track had essentially dried out, but there's little piece of water running across turn 2. He got caught out by that, and then as he went off the road, there's even more water and hit the barriers hard, as Scott Pruitt mentioned. Just a tough day. These guys just can't seem to get going. Coming off the start of the year with a couple of wins at Sebring and at Long Beach, but since that time just hasn't gone their way.
That's right. He went out to try to test slick, dry weather tires on what turned out to be an excessively wet track. Now let's get more on the Mazda Skyactiv Diesel number 70 prototype. Here's Brian.
Not the day that Sylvain Tremblay wanted for the 70. The 07 is having a good day, though. They've run as high as 6. I don't think that people keep in mind that this is a development program, Sil, and every weekend the car gets better and better. Temperature seems to have been the problem in the past, but you guys are working hard on that, correct?
We are. I mean, obviously, our Skyactiv Mazda is making gains every single weekend. We're closer here than we've been in a long time. 07's running real well, so I had to go take off my race suit, put on my team owner's suit. So, you know, obviously the guys are working real hard. I hate it for the 70 crew. We just had a belt shear off all the teeth. So, unfortunately, the engine stopped. 07's running well. Joel's in the car now. Tristan did a fantastic job. I just can't say enough of all the work that the guys are doing, both in Hiroshima, in Irvine, and at Mazda. John Dunu's not here today. He had some other family commitments, so good for him for doing that first. But we're real happy to getting closer and closer and closer. So we're coming. We got some new stuff we're working on for the winter. So we got to just keep packing away.
When people talk about a development program, one of the things that the other thing I don't think people understand is there is more energy per cylinder in this Mazda than there is in the R18 that ran at Le Mans, and that's pretty impressive to me.
Our specific output per liter is the highest of any diesel engine in the world right now. So that's a tall order for any company. So the Mazda Skyactiv is making some good power. We're getting there, we're making more. We're still thermally challenged. I can't cool all the power that I have. So we've got some more radiators, some more work the guys are doing. So we're just gonna keep banging at it away and hopefully get closer to the front.
Working every weekend, and every weekend it gets a little bit better, guys.
And boy, do they have to work hard at it, too. You're basically redesigning the guts of your car, race in and race out. There's a look at the Canadians in the field. Valiente, Tremblay, and Whitmer in prototype and GTLM, respectively. And Chris Green and Mark Thomas driving together in the number 18 Porsche in GTD. A couple of really interesting guys, too. On board the 94. Now, we have located some video that may explain their penalty for loose pit equipment. Doris?
Take a look here, guys. On the bottom right, past this black box, there's going to be a wheel nut that comes through here in just a second. There he is. That's as far as I could draw over it. Anyway, that little ring right there is the wheel nut that holds the wheel on, and it's got away.
And that happens now and again when they're trying to get the wheel nut onto the hub that can come out the mechanic's hand. I've never seen a penalty called for that. And it really depends where it rolled across. I would assume it would have hit the pit wall on the opposite side of pit lane, but it'd be a tough call on these guys.
It could have stopped in the middle of the road, too, and another car pick it up, and it's a dangerous situation. So,
as Calvin mentioned, they are reconsidering that. We'll have to see what happens. In the meantime, here's a look at some of our many onboard cameras. We'll be back to Canada.
Everything in racing is based upon time. Lap times, qualifying times, race times, even the race weekend schedules are defined on a minute-by-minute basis. It's easy to see the importance of a stopwatch at a racetrack, but to the Michelin tire engineers, it's the ability to plan the weeks and months before the race weekend that oftentimes determine the results on the stopwatch and on the racetrack. Developing tires involves dozens of steps. Concepts, designs, constructions, tread compounds, and simulations all take weeks before actual track testing even begins. And each step can be repeated several times before a new tire is finalized. Michelin is already working ahead to lock in the tires for Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta in October. And while the Rolex 24 at Daytona in January may seem like it's a long way away, on Michelin's schedule, it's just right around the corner. Michelin believes that you won't win tomorrow's races with yesterday's technology. So for Michelin, the tire development clock never stops.
Back live at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix here on Fox Sports. Watching the new leader in the GT Daytona category, Kevin Estre, in a Porsche 911, got by the similar car of Mario Farnbacher for the GTD class lead.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying right now. Passed Dane Cameron, then took the lead from Farnbacher. He's a German driver, McLaren factory driver over in the series over there, so he is no slouch, Dorsey. He's won the French Carrera Cup Championship over the course of his career, driving Porsches the majority of the time, so really, really talented young driver.
You got to watch some of the drivers in this GTD class that you don't know who they are. Come over from Europe, and they're a lot more experience under their belt than what most people would think.
Now here comes GTLM traffic, the faster production-based cars. Lights flashing from the Porsche factory car with that BMW Z4 right on his gearbox.
Yeah, this is Leighton Edwards. This has been a great battle. Edwards is having a good run here. He's closed the gap onto the rear end of that factory Porsche. Bill Aublin's trying to work over Michael Christensen in the 912, and now John Edwards, the other BMW in the field, is trying to work on Richard Leitz. Look at the speed he can carry into that corner. That little BMW Z4 has great cornering abilities, as we see in the GTD category there, as that's Dane Cameron there putting the pressure on Farnbacher.
Love it when these guys start flashing those headlights. Look out, guys, we got a war on our hands. I mean, they're giving it their all right now.
A bit of a bobble there from Farnbacher. Very tricky corner, that Moss corner, turns 5A and B. You try and overdrive the corner, you suddenly get the car all twisted up, and it takes a little bobble there in the middle of the two. Suddenly you lose a little bit of exit speed as well onto this straightaway.
That's one of those corners you never feel you've done it right. You just keep trying things, and it's just really impossible.
Let's get more on the team leading GTD right now with Jamie.
And Patrick Lindsay watching on, biting his nails, watching this race unfold. Patrick, when we talked earlier in the weekend, you said you guys just needed a race to come together. How much has luck played into this?
You know what? It's just these guys working hard every time. I'm speechless how hard they work. This Park Place crew, never say die attitude. We've had really tough races. We've shown speed all year, but it hasn't translated into race finishes. Finally, our fingers are crossed that this is our event. Just really thankful Park Place Hawk Performance, which is sponsoring this event. We're really happy to have a good run here for them. And of course, Children's Tumor Foundation, all our NF heroes, hi to them at home.
We were watching on, I know you were watching on as Kevin made that pass for the lead. What was going through your mind?
He got the 94 and run one lap, and the very next lap, the 23. Everybody's driving fantastic out there. The prototypes are sharing the track, so hats off to everyone. It's still hard to watch, but everyone's just driving fantastic today.
There's a lot of racing left, but there's a big smile on his face.
Don't let them make you run down here, okay?
Thank you.
His lap times look really strong. He's some 7/10 quicker on his best lap to Farnbacher. That's a huge margin and essentially the same type of race car.
It's a good example of what the GT Daytona class is all about. Now, our Dodge Viper SRT halfway leader. Could we be at the halfway point of this race already? I guess we are. Gustavo Yakiman put the car on pole.
What a job this young man has done putting the car on the pole, as you said, Bob, showing speed, but now showing maturity and patience. I think the key was a really good opening lap. He gapped the rest of the competition. That allowed him to settle down, Dorsey. The thing with these P2 cars is they have great cornering speed. That really shows up here at this racetrack, but he's kind of escaped the pack, so to speak. He didn't have those snarling DPs right on his tail for those first couple of laps.
You see the Oak Racing and the French flag decals on the dashboard, the bulkhead of the car. Oak Racing is a French company, makes a variety of racing cars. We're going to be seeing more of them before the year is out, and certainly into next year in the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship.
Cameron's got around Farnbacher there for the second position. The yellow and blue Z4 there. The Turner Motorsport Z4 has taken second place back for Mario Falmbach. And now, can Dane Cameron do anything about the pace that Kevin Estre is showing?
And keep in mind that penalty for the pit stop is still hanging over the 94 crew.
Oh, a little wiggle right there. You see and then he roughs him up.
And he pushed him, yep.
Yeah, I think Farnbacher tried to carry that speed into turn 3. When you do that, there's a little bump there, Dorsey unsettles the car. He was fighting it. Dane may have touched him a little bit. I think it was unintentionally. Expected Farnbacher out of the way, and he was still sitting there in the apex of the corner. Just good racing.
Once you got the back end loose, you got to back off the throttle a little bit to get it gathered up, and that's where they made the contact. That's good hard racing is right, and good car control as well. That turn 3 is tricky. You were talking about that before with the Vipers, whether you could go flat off of that corner. That's the first question I asked. It's a tough corner, much tougher than it looks like. It's off camber.
This 94 team, they didn't score any points other than the 1 point for starting the 24 Hours of Daytona. They finished 7th on the road, but Paul Dallalana, who essentially sponsors this race car, was intending to drive the car for the year, was just a minute and a half shy of his 4 hours. I think it was 4 hours 20 minutes that day in the 24-hour event of his drive time. That meant the car got 0 points for the race. With those points, they'd be leading this championship, so they've really been trying to claw their way back into this championship grind.
Let's hear from another GTD team, Flying Lizard. Here's Brian.
Right now, the 35 car running 4th in the championship, and Seth Nyman sharing that car with Dion von Moltke. This Audi seems to, you guys have really taken to it. What is it that's special about it, Seth, that fits y'all's driving style?
Well, the thing that's great about it really is that it does what you tell it. It doesn't have any particular bad habits, and once we've understood how to set it up, and our engineer Steve Conover's done a great job with that, we could just drive the car hard for the whole stint.
And both cars seem to be running well. You said it had no bad habits, so it's not like Dorsey at all. I said the car's not like Dorsey at all then, no bad habits?
Well, I can't speak to Dorsey's bad habits, but let me put it this way. It has some good habits, and I know Dorsey doesn't have any of those.
Man, I'm taking some heat today.
Seth's a great guy. We had a lot of fun with him at Le Mans this year. He's a very hospitable fella. We appreciate it. Both of the prototype Tequila Patron sponsored ESM Hondas have pitted. As the action continues, we'll be back live to Canada in a moment. Welcome back. Don't forget the Major League All-Star Game coming up Tuesday. Special event coverage on Fox Sports 1 begins at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Game coverage begins on Big Fox at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Final appearance with Derek Jeter. Had another multi-hit game the other night. Should be a great game. Check it out. Beginning at 4:30 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. Game coverage 7:30 p.m. on your local Fox affiliate. Replay, checking the action. Gustavo Yakiman uses a little bit of the blend line. Drivers were warned to keep their wheels off that line. It's our Nissan track lap. Hope you had the volume turned up nice and high.
You know what I like right there? You saw when he got up underneath the Audi in turn 1, he gave him a signal, gave him thank you.
Yep. To Brian.
90 is in. Visit Florida, Spirit of Daytona. Valiente climbs out, falls out. Richard Westbrook climbing in. 4 new Continental tires and fuel. Should be a routine stop, and right behind them, the 42 is also set up, so we expect to see Gustavo Yakiman in this lap, and I would expect to see a driver change there as well. Tires are on, fuel going in, driver change is being done. It's the fuel that takes the longest. Crew with their hands in the air, and the driver change, a little bit of a hang-up, still working inside the cockpit. This is costing time, big time, and you can't lose this kind of time sitting here on pit road. Crew still working, door finally closed. Westbrook is underway.
Yes, unfortunately the pit stop wasn't as smooth as silk, because here comes the 42 car, and Michael Valiente done a really nice job of keeping that gap to the leader, Jakob, right around the 8 to 10 second mark. It's kind of went up and down depending on traffic laps, but here we'll see what the Nissan Morgan can do. The Oak Racing crew on their pit stop, and see how they come out. It's going to be Plow taking over here, I believe.
Jakob into the marks, and one of the advantages of this open cockpit prototype is the driver change. Jakob steps literally out of one side as Plow steps into the other. 4 new Continental tires on the Morgan Nissan here. Jakob walking behind the car, crew going to work. Routine pit stop. Should be cleaner. They want it to be cleaner than the 90. They can make time in pit lane. A little hang up on the left rear. Waiting on fuel, waiting on fuel. Engine has been fired. Plow now underway.
Meanwhile, Richard Westbrook, no doubt, has been going as fast as he can on cold tires to try to make up for the balky Corvette pit stop.
He was sensational in qualifying. Everyone expected the P2 cars to have the advantage, but they certainly did. But boy, oh boy, Westbrook got really close to being on the front row. Just a tremendous performance, about half a second clear of the other DP cars in the field in the qualifying session.
Olivier Plow goes out to join in battle with Westbrook. Time now for another quick half-minute break and a message from BMW. See you in a half. Back live at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. There you see the 01 Telmex Ganassi Ford EcoBoost car in the pits. After about 20 laps, Memo Rojas has climbed out. Scott Pruitt will get in. Earlier you saw him, or you heard him say, they just wanted to get the minimum drive time for each of their drivers and pick up as many points as they can after that big accident when Rojas hit the wall trying dry tires on a wet track before the race began.
Yeah, just damage control at that point. I mean, that's just a severe blow to take, you know, just over an hour before the start of this race. And the Ganassi boys did a tremendous job. I mean, it's probably a job in the shop you spend a couple of days fixing. They did it in just over a couple hours or so to get the car back out there and score some valuable championship points.
Yeah, they had to get 20 minutes for each driver so they get points at all. So that was 20 minutes you just saw for Memo. Scott will do 20. Then it's up to them whether they want to either continue or just park the car. I mean, I don't think it's fixed 100%.
Now there you see the number 2 of Johannes van Overbeek. That car has been in the pits for a long time. If Pruitt gets more than, well, he just needs 3 laps to get by the parked Mazda Sylvain Tremblay. Oh, that car's leaving.
He's going back to the paddock.
So Pruitt and Rojas could go all the way to 8th in class and pick up 23 points today.
I'm not sure there's enough time on the board. They've got to make up 45 laps with just over an hour to go, and I'm not sure. I'll have to do the math here. It's going to be tight.
Yep. And well, there's Pruitt. There's Olivier Plow in the Morgan Nissan. To Brian Till.
Well, from qualifying on pole yesterday to leading every lap today while you were out there on the track. I know the car was loose yesterday, but it seems to work really well today. You're not even sweating after you climbed out.
Yeah, the car is working really well. I'm really happy for the team. They've done a really good job, but this race is far from over. We still need to keep fighting. We still need to fight with that gap. Hopefully we can open up that gap even a little more, keep it clean, and hopefully we can bring it home.
Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, was it really made for a P2 car like this? They seem to work so well here.
Yeah, I'm having a blast at this track. It's just amazing. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 complex. It's a lot of fun. You know, even the corner 5A and 5B, which is the slowest corner on the track, it's so weird because you go so fast. You're going so fast. You're going like 140 miles an hour, and then you go to this super slow corner that's like 40, 30 miles an hour, and your mind is going so fast that you think, wow, I'm losing so much time. Like every time you go through this corner, you're like, oh my God, I'm losing so much time because everything's going, you know, back down really, really slow. But you know, when you look at the data, everything's all right, and then you go to the backside, turn 8, 9, 10 complex. It's a lot of fun, you know. I really enjoyed my 2 stints out there, you know, especially leading. It's very nice to be out front in clean air and just pulling a gap.
It's always more fun when you're in front, Dorsey.
Yeah, and when you have a car working like that. But, you know, I knew Gustavo would love this racetrack because he kind of driver that likes that high speed, that rush we all get going these, pushing the limits like that on high-speed corners. This has always been an awesome track.
Great athletes will also tell you when they're on their game, the world just slows down and the game is easy.
Yeah,
In Gustavo Yakiman's case, apparently it speeds up.
You feel like you can get out of the car and run faster than that down there in turn 5A and B, the Moss corners, but you're doing 52 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour.
Okay, we've been on board some of the prototypes. Let's go on board now with one of the GTLM cars. This is Michael Christensen, Denmark, in the Porsche, number 912.
Got a good foot cam to watch here. Left foot breaker, as you can tell there. Left foot's right on the brake.
See the steering column just moving that knuckle there above his feet. You can see he doesn't use the clutch.
These transmissions nowadays, paddle shifters are non-interrupt. You don't have to lift to shift the car. He just pulls a button.
Boy, but you can see how important modulating that throttle is through some of these corners. Awesome stuff. A pole winner this year in the inaugural TUDOR United SportsCar Championship. We'll be back. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the Mobile One Sports Car Grand Prix. Here's a look at the overall order. Number 42 Morgan Nissan of Yakiman and Pla out front by 5.5 seconds over the Taylor brothers in their Daytona prototype base car. Kevin Estrick continues to lead the GTD category. We'll take a break for 30 seconds and a message from Chrysler. Go racing. Welcome back in traffic. At Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, you ride with the third place Honda prototype of Ryan Dial, trying desperately to get by that black number 10 in second place. That's Jordan Taylor, while Olivier Pla in the number 42 Morgan Nissan is up the road just 7 seconds.
Yeah, and something has happened to the 90 car. Remember, Michael Valiente's first couple of stints, he stayed within about 10 seconds of the lead of the number 42. But since that time, Westbrook is now 30 seconds back. So something has gone adrift there with that Spirit of Daytona Visit Florida car for Westy to be that far back.
He did have that longish pit stop.
There he goes there, Calvin. No damage to the car that I can see. Doesn't mean he didn't have a little bit of a moment, though, that could have lost time.
Yeah, because it should have been pretty tight. We saw the pit stop wasn't the best, but they may have lost 3 or 4 seconds max, not 20.
Well, let's get more from the man who started the car, Michael Valiente, with Brian.
Well, Michael down here at Visit Florida, Spirit of Daytona. And Michael, it looked like Richard, we know there was a problem on the stop. That dropped you guys back a little bit. Any problems with the car right now?
Hey, Massimo. Yeah, we had some gearbox issues early on when Christian was able to get by me. It wasn't selecting gears, so it seems like as long as we're really patient, we can manage the gearbox and run in a good pace. But that last stop, they had some problems with the belts and Richard couldn't get it in, and I think he finally did, and he went to tighten the belts, and one popped out, so we lost about 15 seconds. We should be in second or third, so hopefully Richard does what he normally does and is able to drive to the front and catch up.
He says those gearbox problems are manageable. We'll have to see, Jamie.
Well, down at Turner Motorsports, we did see the number 94 come into pit lane to serve that penalty wheel. The last we heard, it was still under review. What was the message you got from race control?
Well, first of all, I have to bite my tongue here because I know there's a lot of young race fans watching this race and want to see some racing. And what happened, as you might have seen in the video, is one of our wheel nuts was outside of our box. It may or may not have been outside of our box. When we asked where our box is, the pit official didn't know where our box began and ended. And I've done over 280 races, and I've never heard a penalty for having a wheel nut outside a box that's not defined. So anyway, we went back and forth to race control, didn't get anywhere. You know, there's only one game in town, and it's IMSA. You're playing in their sandbox. You got to go by their rules. You know, if they keep doing this to people, I mean, everybody's vulnerable for this kind of a call. It could be a mistake that affects outcomes of races. So I don't think you'd see anybody happy with this kind of thing up and down the pit lane. So it's really disappointing because, you know, all we want to do is go racing. And you've seen this whole season, you've seen mistakes all around, and it affects people's races. And that's not what anybody wants. And it's not getting any better. So just really disappointed.
I know things like this are frustrating during a race. What does the team do now to regroup?
Well, you know, coming off the win at Watkins Glen, we had flawless pit stops. We were very consistent. We stayed out of trouble, and that was our plan today. We may not have the fastest car here, but our plan was stay out of trouble. And what happened? We got into some trouble. So now we got to make up some time. So Don Salama's probably, his wheels are spinning. He's probably doing a creative strategy to try to get us back up there. but now we're off cycle a little bit, and you know, there's still some time to go, but it's going to be tough, but you know, we're trying.
Thanks, Will.
Well, Dane has pushed that car back up into the top 5, but I believe a couple of cars behind him have made their final fuel stop, so that's going to give them the advantage when Dane has to hit pit lane for fuel once again.
There's the 58 Porsche, Jan Halen making his stop from 3rd place. Here's one of the Corvettes in GTLM.
And the GTD leader, Kevin Estra, has made his potential final pit stop of the day. Should be good on fuel. These GTD cars go about an hour, a little bit over, so 59 minutes on the board. He should be good to go. As soon as you get into that fuel window, you want to come, because if you stay out there and there's a yellow, pit lane is closed, as we know from the regulations, you're just going to lose the advantage you have. So as soon as you get in that window, you can't afford to gamble, you have to come.
Oliver Gavin back on course in the Corvette C7R. With just under 59 minutes remaining in this 2 hour and 45 minute sprint race in Canada.
Well, this is Mosport, and I'm Bruce McLaren.
You name a form of motorsport, it's been seen here at what was once Mosport, which is now Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Can-Am, Trans Am, Formula One, stock cars, Indy cars, Formula 5000, all of them and more have been here since the track opened in 1961, deep in southeastern Ontario. Now more problems for the number 2 ESM car, Jamie. Oh, this is the number 1, the sister car. That's right, the 2 left, Jamie.
Yes, the 2 just left pit lane. A lot of frustration down here with ESM. The number 1 car saw the motion from the crew member saying, looks like they're done. They're going to take it back to the paddock, take a further look at it. But the message from the team right now is that it looks like broken exhaust system. So not the day they're hoping for. They have pretty high hopes for a podium, at least here.
Yeah, they showed a lot of speed. Ryan put the car on the front row. They thought today could be their day to get that breakthrough win for the number 1 car. Of course, the 2 car won at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Had a lot of gearbox issues early in the season, Dorsey, and really traced that down to a bevel gear that was giving them issues. Thought they've got that out of the way, but exhaust headers, if they're broken, that's a long change to get those fixed.
Boy, what a day. Both cars out of the race for the Tequila Patron cars. Another 30-second break. Here's a message from Honda. Back live from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The number 17 Falcon Porsche pits from 3rd place. Wolf Hensler stays behind the wheel.
A really strong qualifying run here, Dorsey putting the car 3rd on the grid, and then Brian Sellers had a great run in the opening stint, getting the car well in the top 5 there.
That car and team having a really good run. They've been quietly sneaking up there. You see the number 1 sadly being pushed behind the wall at the end here. Those exhaust systems are hooked through the turbocharger on those cars. So if you have any kind of a problem like that, you lose boost, or we're hearing that could be a boost hose. But in any event, the car makes no power without the turbocharger spooling up, and it won't spool up into that condition.
The 1 car now behind the wall has really taken the pressure off Jordan Taylor, so he now sits in that 2nd spot, just under 11 seconds behind our leader, Olivier Pla. Westbrook is on the charge here a little bit. He's closed that gap down to 27 seconds from our leader, so both these cars really need a yellow to try.
Get something.
Yeah, there's some debris there out on the outside of turn 8 that he had to run over.
Might have been a bit of tire rubber or clag being tossed in the air.
You're always worried because the driver saw that. I guarantee he saw it. He couldn't do anything about it either. But now you're wondering, did I get a puncture? I got to feel that out through the steering wheel.
Spoke to Pla yesterday. He's not doing the full championship with this team. He will compete at Road America and at Petit Le Mans, the season finale.
Goes by the GTD class leader, Kevin Estre, in the number 73 Porsche. There he is. Let's go to Brian Till.
Well, both BMWs were in just moments ago for Team RLL, and Bill Auberlin, you climbed out of the 55. Typically, we don't see a double driver change. We did today on the 55. Why?
We have to go a long ways on a set of tires, and we're kind of tough on the fronts here, and Andy's the tire master. So we can't pit again. If we pit again, what little race we have going here will be done. So leave him in there. He'll do a great job. The guy, is a master. He's a super champion. We're just struggling a bit this weekend. I mean, I think alone we got great pace. And as soon as you put somebody in front of us, we have a little bit of issues, and it's tough to pass here. But what are you gonna do?
Now they're trying to pull out all the stops and get the 55 to the front, Jamie.
Well, unfortunately, when the ESM car went back to the paddock, it was without a driver. Ryan Zeal, what were the warning signs that you got?
We started losing some boost pressure in the turbo. Then we lost both turbos, I think. I'm not really sure what happened, but it's pointless to continue when you're probably about 400 horsepower down. So I don't know. I don't know what we need to do here to get a break. Thought today was going to be a good result for us. Definitely feel like we need to turn it around, and guys have been working hard. It's just one of those things that we'll figure out what went wrong, and we'll come back and fix it and try and get the Tequila Patron cars on the podium again.
Obvious disappointment, but you hear it, not giving up yet.
All right, thanks, Jamie. There's the race leader, Olivier Pla, with 12 seconds on the Daytona prototype version in the hands of Jordan Taylor, 27 seconds to the third-place car of Richard Westbrook. Here's that debris we saw earlier as Pla looked like he made a little adjustment there to make sure he didn't hit it with a tire.
Yeah, he did. He moved the car over to center it, get it up into the middle. Couldn't tell what it was. Could have just been a piece of rubber, or it could have been a part of that carcass that we saw thrown off there earlier. But, you worry about it nonetheless. You try not to hit it on a tire.
Absolutely.
All of these prototypes have to hit pit lane again for their final stop for fuel here today, but Pla is doing a tremendous job really just picking up the reins where Gustavo Jacquemin left them in terms of steering this horse to victory possibly. And again, they're looking for their first victory of the season. St. came so close at Watkins Glen. What a race that was between them and in particular the number 90 car that won that day. And they're bitterly disappointed. They really got out-drag raced on a restart, and now we're on board here with the 94 car. Dane Cameron trying to make a move back into the points, Dorsey.
Battle for fifth right there, you see he's trying to get, they're mad, and I don't blame them for being mad. So with that, the adrenaline goes up, and with that, the speeds go down, usually.
He's made another pit stop, so he's taken on fuel, so he should be good to go, but they're down in the 6th spot.
That was a strategy call, because they were already in anyway. They had nothing to lose. Might as well get it out of the way.
As mentioned, that's a battle for position, and in fact, another penalty for a loose part of the pit lane has been issued to the 58 Porsche running third in GT Daytona. We'll be back. Back in Ontario, Jordan Taylor pits the family prototype from second place, 25 seconds behind race leader Olivier Pla.
46 minutes left in this race, so they're inside their fuel window just. And I think this will create the domino effect, Dorsey, where the rest of the prototype leaders will need to come to really protect against this pit stop by Wayne Taylor Racing.
Looks like pretty routine, no problem.
They've got good pace. I mean, they just got that brake that Olivier Pla has on them right now, the cushion they're trying to erase, but the pace is very similar between the top 3 cars for that matter, the 42, the 10, and the 90, all running very similar lap times.
And I agree with you. I think you'll see everybody start to stop now and try to dodge the fact that a yellow comes out, it would hurt you.
On board with the number 3, looking for that 4th consecutive victory for Antonio Garcia, who's driving, and Jan Magnussen, who started. And speaking of Corvette racing, there's a Canadian legend whose name is synonymous with Corvette success over the years. Brian Till is with him.
Ron, fellas, it's not uncommon to see him down at the Corvette racing camp like you talked about, Bob, but for the last couple of years, a different suit that you wear, so to speak, Ron, as one of the partners here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Which one is more difficult, driving a race car or being a businessman?
Well, first thing I got to do is give a shout out to Boris. Nasty hit on Friday. Boris, we're thinking about you. Hang in there, buddy. I will tell you, Brian, it was way easier driving, yes. But no, this has been fantastic. This Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, this is where I got the racing bug way back when. Got a lot of my first races, and to get an opportunity to partner with Carlo Fidani, who's he's tremendous vision for the infrastructure of the place and all the upgrades. It's been awesome.
You talk about the vision. There have been so many improvements made here, and I know that there are more to come. Does a lot of that come from your standpoint, your viewpoint as a racing driver of what the facility needs going forward?
To be honest with you, a lot of it is Carlo and Miles. In terms of, yes, we'll talk about, I can add the racer input, but a lot of it is you know, it's Carlo's experience in commercial real estate and just looking at the place. Me, and even for you and the guys that have been around here 100 times, you know your way around. But, you know, for Carlo to bring a fresh mind and perhaps one that doesn't necessarily know the property that well, it's been awesome, and improvements for the competitors as well as the race fans.
And it gets better and better. And don't think that he never puts a race suit on anymore. He won the Trans Am race here earlier in the year with a flat right rear tire for the last 3 laps. So I think he knows his way around, guys.
Good to see Ron here, and let's congratulate him what he and his partners have managed to accomplish here at Mosport. There's a look at Ron Fellows. 6 wins in NASCAR, 20 in Trans Am, 2 class wins at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, 3 ALMS driver championships, and of course all those victories with Corvette racing. A true Canadian motorsports legend, creating a whole new chapter in that legend with what he's done here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Leader is in. Brian Till is huffing and puffing his way to the scene.
I'm not that out of shape, Bob, but all right, just huffing, not puffing. And right down here, the crew working smoothly. Nobody hustling here. It's just nice, smooth. They're quick, but they're very accurate with everything they do. Every move choreographed. The fuel is in. Continental tires going on. Olivia Claw back underway. They are having a smooth day here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
That they are. And as you heard Will Turner say earlier, oftentimes the victory goes to those who get everything right. Here's a message from GM. Nothing better than a Sunday drive at $150 or so. That's what Frenchman Olivier Pla is doing right now in the race-leading Morgan Nissan.
Adjusting something there to the left of the steering wheel. He's gone up there a couple times, made a slight adjustment to something. Or a reset. He might have been pushing the reset button.
No tire warmers here, so he has to be careful on this opening lap here just to generate some tire temp. These Continental tires.
See all the hand movement on the steering wheel, Calvin. I think that's exactly what you're talking about with the tires not being up totally. He's feeling the understeer, if you will, or the fact that the car doesn't want to turn.
Well, as you can see, the left of your screen, a lot of traffic as he went through 1. This is 2. Big downhill plunge, racing up to 3.
That's not ideal, Bob, when you're trying to encounter that traffic or get through that traffic when your tires aren't up to temp. Normally you just go around the outside of someone and blaze by them. You don't have the tire temp to do that, as we see the Action Express number 5 car hit pit lane, and Brian is there.
That's right, Action Express Wheeling Corvette is in, and there's some damage to the left rear from where we had that cut down tire a little bit earlier. Crew going to work, a little bit of body work missing in the back. Aerodynamically, the car may not be perfect, but it's still running well in 3rd as it came to pit lane, Jamie.
Well, Richard leads in the 911. Porsche's currently running 5th. Richard, what is it that you guys need to be able to get in the top 3?
Well, a little bit more downforce would be good. I mean, we are struggling a little bit with the pace, especially in fast corners, but we're doing our best. We're pushing like hell, and I mean, a safety car would be good, I think, to close the gap to everybody, and would it make it more excited for all the spectators who are watching the race. But anyway, it's so difficult to overtake on this track, because as soon as you're behind the car, you lose the front downforce and you just understeer through the corner. So it makes it difficult to pass the car in front of you.
And that's a great point, guys. No safety cars yet in this race.
Yeah, with the high-speed nature of this racetrack, it's like running on an oval, Dorsey, in terms of the aero push that you get. High-speed corners, you need that air hitting the front of your race car, hitting those dive planes, hitting that front splitter, and keeping the car on the deck.
And again, like you said, there's 3 places on this racetrack. You're over 150 mile an hour, right at 150 mile an hour. There's a lot of wind. There's a lot of push down on the front of that racetrack. You see the 58s doing their penalty right there. And that aero push, as we call it, is prevalent at this racetrack.
Richard Leitz agrees with you, Calvin. A little yellow flag would raise everybody's hopes, as long as you're not in first place in class.
Yeah, and it was Jamie that said it this time. She said, you know, we haven't had any green. So all of us talk about it. We wouldn't say it because we didn't want it to happen. So we can blame it on her if we start getting cautions now.
By push, we mean the car pushes towards the outside of the corner. We'll call it understeer in the car. The car is understeering. It's not steering enough. You're putting steering input in the car, but the car is not responding to that and turning through the corner.
It won't turn, right.
It will if you leave it in that condition too long.
Well, then you have a whole new set of problems. And Jamie was right. No yellow flags at all thus far in this race. Here's the number 33, Jerome Bleekemolen. in the Dodge Viper.
Yeah, and he's been running some really fast lap times. Did a 120.0. The leader's fastest lap is a 120.2. So Bleekemolen has the pace, but he's some 9 seconds behind right now. So that's a big margin to make up if you've only got a couple of tenths per lap in hand.
Gap first to second in the overall. Plow over Taylor, 22 seconds and change. In GTLM, it's 5.6 seconds. Garcia to Bomarito. And in GTD, less than that. Welcome back live to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Less than 35 minutes remaining here in the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix. Here's a look at our Continental Tire race recap. Olivier Pla leads in the pole sitting number 42 Morgan Nissan, started by Gustavo Yakiman. In the GTLM, Corvettes out front once again, going for their fourth straight, Garcia and Magnussen. And in GTD, a bit of an upset perhaps, as the Park Place machine in the hands of Kevin Estra and Patrick Lindsay leads Jeroen Bleekemolen in the Viper by 8.7 seconds. Three great first to second battles in the three classes in action this weekend. Once again, no prototype challenge cars in this race, but we'll be seeing them again soon.
This is a great battle in that GTD class. Bob Ian James currently holds down the fourth position in the number 23 Team Seattle Porsche, but being chased hard by the younger Irish. Well, he's not young anymore. Giving him credit where it's not due. The middle age, we'll call it, Damien Faulkner, but certainly one of the top drivers in a Porsche for the GB Autosport Global Barista machine.
Let's hear how the Taylor family is doing. Let's go to Brian.
Well, I think I interrupted a tweet session. I walked down and Ricky was on Twitter or something like that on his phone. But out there watching your brother right now, not able to match the lap times of the 42. Some days do you just come to the racetrack and go, this is as good as it's going to get, we'll take the points and go?
Yeah, we really knew coming into the race that if the P2s were ahead of us on track, we weren't going to really race them very hard. So we'll let them have this weekend and we'll go to Indy and keep pushing for wins. But right now we're in a good championship position, so hopefully we'll extend our lead today.
And obviously with the rain we got overnight, you didn't get a chance to really practice this morning very much on a dry setup. The changes that you guys made from qualifying, are they working?
Yeah, I think the car's very good. I obviously made that stupid mistake, ran out of talent in turn 3 there, but it was at the perfect time that I ran out of talent because it put us right on strategy to make it however many stops we had. But Jordan's doing a really good job. The team's doing a great job to make up for my mistakes. So hopefully we can hang on there.
Take as many points as they can. Remember, they're leading the championship. They'd like to extend that lead.
Yeah, and he brought up a very important point with that little off that he had, that subsequent stop in pit lane. It was right in the window where they could still do it on 3 stops to get to the checkered flags. They got a little bit lucky with the timing of that.
Let's take another look at what happened.
Just ran wide there. I think a little bobble right at the apex there and just had to straighten the wheel up. Gets out in the gray Dorsey and runs out of racetrack.
The car will not turn once you get halfway out there, and you see that. He did a good job of not letting it get worse.
Of course, the drivers really can't know how rough that terrain is off track, so he may think, okay, I'll just get right back on. The next thing you know is he's porpoising madly through the
He didn't
side.
have any choice. He was going to get there either way.
Tell you what a drive by Richard Westbrook. We talk about the belt problem that they had, but look at that. He's all over the tail of Jordan Taylor right now. He wants that second position. He wants to be the best DP in the field, even if he can't get the overall lead away from that P2 machine of Olivier Pla.
Traffic ahead, the battle for second place in the overall as well as the prototype division.
Westbrook has taken some 9 seconds out of the overall lead of Olivier Pla, who is absolutely on a mission here.
The reason Ricky Taylor was worried about points is that in the drivers and teams competition, they just have 3 points on second place. So any points they can gather to fatten up that margin will be welcome this weekend.
And that 3-point margin is over the number 5. But remember, we talked about at the beginning of the show, the 90 car with that win at the Glen is suddenly in the championship picture as well. And that's why Westbrook wants by Jordan Taylor to cut some of those point margin back.
More traffic ahead. We'll take a quick break for an important message from Mazda. Back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in 30 seconds. Oh! Welcome back. Oh, man, contact there in the battle between Richard Westbrook and Jordan Taylor for second place in the race.
Wow, this is going to be a fantastic battle here. Westy wants through in the worst way. Tried to thread the needle there. I think he may have made contact with that GTD machine.
He did touch it for sure, and something flew off. I don't know if it was off the GTD or if it was off the Westbrook's car. I think it was the GTD that took the hit.
Westbrook has got the hammer down.
Oh, man. And we heard a transmission just like that to Jordan Taylor saying Westbrook is right there. He's right there.
I think you heard the voice of Ricky Cameron, who's the engineer for Richard Westbrook. Here we see he tries to thread the needle.
Took the mirror right off the side. Look at that.
Wow. Mirror off the Porsche, that is.
Yeah. He clipped it with the wing end post.
Uh-oh. Oh, now we're hearing the 90 is reporting a possible tire going soft.
Wonder if he hit in that corner, too.
Yeah. Left rear tire pressure possible issue.
Let's listen to the radio transmission.
We're on it. We're looking at it now.
Watching the telemetry.
That's Westbrook asking. He knew there was a hit. Is he feeling something in the car, or did he just say, hit him? Is the left rear okay?
Yeah, I think he just had Calvin check it for me. He didn't know he made contact, but I don't think they hit on the side. I think it was the wing end plate just cleavered off that rear view mirror.
And the reason he wants, I spoke to him, it's the first time Westbrook has driven at this racetrack. He said it is an eye-opener. He said it is mega, what a racetrack, but he wants to know that he's got left rear tire pressure because of the speed of these right-hand corners. You don't want that thing suddenly going down on you at the rapid rate that you're going to attack these corners
You
at.
turn into turn one with a low left rear, and it will be the last time you did today.
Now let's check the GTLM class. The number 3, Antonio Garcia, remember, going for his 4th straight victory with teammate Jan Magnussen. Jonathan Bomarito right there.
6-second lead that Garcia currently holds. Mark Goosens has got the second of the Vipers up into the top 3 as well, being chased by John Edwards in the BMW, currently sitting in 4th.
On board with the 91 of Goosens. Remember, they finished 2nd and 3rd at Watkins Glen in the Salem 6 Hours 2 weeks ago, but I think they're a little bit tired of 2nd and 3rd place finishes. They want P1.
They want more, and they want a championship too, and they can't afford to have the championship leader continue to get these victories one after the other.
There's John Edwards in the 56 BMW.
He floated that BMW through those 2 corners. That's when you do get it right, it looks just like that. Where you get off the brake and the back end steps out and you give it a little throttle and it sits down and off the corner you go. But you only get 1 in 1,000 right, it seems like.
Yeah, Edwards is about 5.5 seconds behind Mark Goosens for that final podium spot, but Goosens is not that far away from Garcia and Bomarito either.
And here comes Edwards' nearest rival, Nick Tandy, in the first of the factory Porsches.
Tandy in the 5th spot. And we spoke to Richard Leitz, his teammate, who just said we need more downforce on these Porsches. Came out the box so strong with the big win at the Daytona 24-hour race, followed up with the other car, the 912 with the win at Sebring. But since that time, the pace of play has really been a bit too far in front of them.
6th place in GTLM, the number 4 Corvette.
Look at this, Hensler's all over him in that Falcon Tire shod Porsche.
Wolf tried it.
Look at this, Prio's coming.
This is 6, 7, and 8. Gavin, Hensler, and Prio.
Bill Aublin said that Andy Prio is a master at conserving the tires, but he's really got the hammer down too. These guys were leading the championship going into Watkins Glen. Had a poor finish there, really dropped them back, and just trying to fight back. Bobby Rahal has a busy weekend, was in Iowa last night with his son Graham, running to a 7th place finish I think Graham had last night in the Iowa race.
Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing run the BMW factory cars at GTLM. There are your 3 class leaders as we now are coming up on 25 minutes remaining. Back in Bowmanville, Ontario, in the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix here on Fox Sports. I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Brian Till and Jamie Howe are in the pits. We're watching the battle for 6th place in the GTLM class. Oliver Gavin of the number 4 yellow Corvette, chased by Wolf Hensler in a Porsche and Andy Prio in a BMW.
Fantastic battle here, and right behind them you can see that Richard Westbrook has cleared Jordan Taylor. He has taken over that 2nd spot in this motor race as he sliced his way through the traffic. He's still got visions of Olivia. Oh, as Hensler looks to the inside of Ollie Gavin in the final corner.
Westbrook just pressures his way through. 1 more to go. You'll get him between 1 and 2. Watch. Set him up here, go to the inside.
There goes the 10. Back to the 90.
Jordan Taylor on board. He knows this Corvette well. He drove one at Le Mans this year.
Great battles. If you like what you're watching, you think you'd like to be a racing driver, check out safeisfast.com, nonprofit website put together by the Road Racing Drivers Club of America, sponsored by Honda, supported by the international governing body, the FIA. There's a great new video on there from Mario Andretti about how becoming a racing driver now is different from when he was coming up. Check it out, safeisfast.com.
There's Negri Jr. there in the picture, the number 60 machine from Mike Shank Racing. Been a quiet race for those guys, but a top 5 finish. They'll be reasonably happy for that. They want more, they want podiums, certainly want to see victory lane again, but they made a big change to the car for qualifying yesterday. That didn't work out, so certainly didn't see the speed in qualifying, so they had to regroup, and with the wet warm-up session this morning, probably didn't have a chance to check out the setup, Dorsey, for the race itself.
Team owner Michael Shank is featured in the August edition of Road and Track magazine. There he is. And if you think it's all about race driving, nope, it's about the business side of racing in a series like the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship. Let's hear from Mike Shank now with Jamie Howe.
Mike, you've been doing this a long time. You've experienced the ups, you've experienced the downs. You guys did get a bit of a boost this weekend. How much of a help was that?
We did get to test here, and we thought it would help us, but the track was green. It was a lot cooler when we showed up. Everything that we learned, we had to unlearn. We thought we had it under control again yesterday, and the track caught us out, so we're having a less than happy day, but we're plugging along, keeping it P5. Oz and John have done a great job. We got to get the car better, and the Ford EcoBoost folks are doing a great job with the motor. It's getting better every weekend. It's just tough to take because we have had the highs, and I know what we're capable of. So we'll get this hopefully in the books at P5, put it in the trailer, regroup for Indy, and be ready to take the Ford EcoBoost car to Indianapolis.
What does that regrouping entail when you say you need to get the car better?
That's a good question. When we go back, we look at data, all kinds of data on why the car was functioning, what it looked like when it was good, and then compare those notes to when it was bad, and try to figure out the delta or the difference between that. Once we get that, then we can assess how we go forward. We always want to understand even our lows when it's hard to look at sometimes.
Team not giving up, guys.
The thing that they're doing is they've really got a good collaboration with the other Ford-powered team. Ganassi Racing and Mike Shank, even though they're fierce competitors, they work together. You see both engineers from both camps talking a lot during the course of these weekends. They're working as a group to try and get the whole force forward.
And that's something all these multiple manufactured teams are doing nowadays. They are sharing information for the most part for the betterment of all, because it is a manufacturer battle after all.
And it's so important to keep that information organized, otherwise you can confuse yourself. They get so much data on these cars from so many different directions. As we go back to look at how the 90 got by the 10.
Just like that.
Yeah, just drove right by, just like on the interstate. Except twice as fast. We're going to take another 30-second break, and a special message from Audi is headed your way. We'll be back to Ontario. Clouds beginning to build once again over Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but no chance of rain the rest of the way, with less than 18 minutes to go in the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix. Hard to believe that this morning this place was absolutely underwater.
Yeah, all of the teams were scurrying around thinking about what sort of setup do we put on the car. Do we start with a wet setup? Do we compromise the setup in case it dries out? And suddenly, a couple hours before the start of this race, the rain stopped. The wind started to blow pretty hard, which I think that contributed to drying the racetrack. And there's a good temperature too. And suddenly, the racetrack had a dry line very, very quickly.
I would have never guessed after this morning that we would have gotten a dry race in. I mean, look at what it looked like first thing this morning when we got here. Slip and slide.
A lot of that going on.
Even all-wheel drive cars got off.
And the visibility was just like that. It was foggy, it was windy, it was just dank. There goes the 60 around. Ooh, nice evasion by the Audi coming up behind. So the crews had a lot more to do this morning, and then, as Calvin pointed out, suddenly the clouds parted, the sun came out, and we went racing.
Change of position right there. Damien Falcon makes a move on Ian James there. That is for 4th position in class. So this is a great run for the Tully's machine. Damien was very bullish on Friday when I was talking to him about he and Ben Barker's potential here this weekend. That little wiggle there. Whoa, Ian James's car does not look happy as he's now starting to feel the heat from his teammate Lee Keane in the WeatherTech Porsche. Alex Joe Racing Porsche's running 5th and 6th right now.
It's one thing when you're all slipping and sliding and you have one of these big Vipers come right blasting through. Look at how loose that car is.
Wow. Well, we'll keep an eye on that situation while we send you off to another commercial break. We'll be back on the other side. Just under 16 minutes remaining. Stay with us. Great GTLM battle continuing. One lap down to the class leaders. But if you like cars running close together.
Right rear on that
on the 5 car.
Something going on back there.
Yeah.
Is that bodywork flapping?
Well, they had that incident, remember, earlier in the race.
Right.
But I think that was the other side.
I'm
the
thinking
left
that,
side that got hit, so there must have been more contact.
I was always thinking it was like a piece of rubber it picked up. No, it's not. It's that back panel
Yeah, it's the
flat.
back panel behind the rear wheel. This has been a great battle that we're looking at right there. Andy Prio and Wolf Hensler, they've been going hard at it. They've cleared Oliver Gavin, but in the meantime, Antonio Garcia just put a lap on this whole pack, so that's the speed that the leader has here today.
Garcia has only a 3.5 second gap over the Viper of Jonathan Bomarito. Now you're on board with Jonathan. There's the Corvette down the road.
This battle has been sensational here for the last 5 minutes or so for this 6th spot.
Watch this.
This is Garcia trying, that's the leader in GTLM, putting a lap on these guys. He opens the door here for Andy Prio. Now Prio and Hensler go side by side in the most... Here we have another look at turn 1.
Yep. Let's listen to a radio.
He hit me at the exit of turn.
I did that one time there on the outside, and I prayed right then that I would never, ever do that again. That's scary.
Just saved my life this time. I'll never do it again.
Exactly.
You heard the comment that there was contact at the exit of 10. That's the final corner. Brian, what do we know?
Guys, I talked to Wolf Hensler before the race. One of the things that they're running this weekend that's making that car so much better is a different tire than they ran at Watkins Glen. He said it doesn't drop off as much. That's the first thing that's good about it. The second thing is it's much more stable. The other tire might start out with a push and end up loose. This one stays consistent. So you've got a tire that doesn't drop off much in performance, and the balance of the car stays good, and it has really brought that number 17 to life this weekend.
Yeah, they've been very racy here today. They'll be a little bit disappointed that Wolfie's now back to the 7th spot, but he's going to continue to try and put the pressure on Andy Prio for that 6th position right here.
Don't be confused. You're watching GTLM and GTD, both production-based race cars, but the GTLM cars are faster, racing in a bunch. And here comes the prototype of the race leader, Olivier Pla, who has 13.5 seconds over Richard Westbrook in second. A battle of the P2-based prototype versus the Daytona prototype version. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. How about that view for high-speed traffic on a Sunday in Canada? Less than 7 minutes remaining in the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix. Just like that, the 912 Porsche GTLM car is past GT Daytona traffic.
He's closing in on Ollie Gavin, who's back in the 8th spot. Must have some kind of problem, but the leader now has an 8.3 second lead over Richard Westbrook. Remember, Westbrook, after his first pit stop when he got in the car, was 30 seconds behind with that seatbelt issue. He has really got the hammer down and closed that gap, Dorsey.
Made 7/10 on that lap, but he's made up that extra bit as we've been watching this other battles all in the different classes. But he's coming. Westbrook is coming hard right now.
Action all the way around this 2.46 mile 10-turn classic racetrack.
See the clock ticking down now, just over 6 minutes to go. And
he got
Olivier
bopped there.
Pla
got, that's going to hurt him. That's all the way up the straightaway slow.
There's Westbrook.
And here comes Westy onto the straightaway right now. You can almost see him, Calvin. That's so important.
And you get to that point when you hear that lead coming down, Dorsey, it suddenly puts pressure on you. How you deal with traffic, do you have the same level of patience? Do you make the right decisions as the leader of this race when that lead is dwindling down?
And for Westy, his path is clear. He doesn't wait on anybody.
Right.
He pushes as hard as he can push. He's the guy that's catching it, and he's in fact doing that right now.
He's got the rhythm, he's got the flow there, Bob. As you can see, he's coming through there. He's got the hammer down, he's feeling it, he's got the grip underneath him.
And he can see Plow now. It's different when you're chasing and can't see him. But when you can see him, you smell that blood, you get something extra.
A little traffic to deal with.
And the 90 team has worked to make that car better all race long. On the first pit stop, they put some blockers in on the brake ducts on the front. The weather is cool today, and the front brakes were actually too cool. That's made the car better. They went testing after Long Beach, the third round of the season. The car got better still, and now what they've got is a very good package every time they unload. And as they go on throughout the race, they fine-tune it, and that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Westbrook moving forward in the 90 car. It is working well.
This will not be a good lap for him, though. He had to clear a lot of traffic there through turns 2 and 3, so I bet he's going to be 2 or 3 seconds off on this particular lap. So he'll have to regroup a little bit, but time is on Olivier Plow's side right now.
He got balked twice on that lap that cost him pretty dearly. I mean, he's doing everything he can. There he goes whistling up the straightaway. Plow's going to gain on this lap.
Past the GTLM leader. And notice the GT Daytona Porsche there, able to match top speed there with the GTLM car.
Some cases are faster on top end, but they don't have as much brake or tire, so they have to get off the throttle earlier.
There you see how the gap has come down to about 7 seconds, but talk about closeness of competition. We have had 6 prototype races this year, including the Daytona 24-hour race, the 12-hour race. When we look at that stat, guys, over 47 hours of racing, and the collective margin of victory, well, it's just under 14 seconds.
Great Rolex 24 at Daytona.
And these finishes have been close all year, no question about that.
Back-to-back victories for Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas at Sebring and Long Beach. Then Detroit, where the Taylor brothers came through. The 6 hours at Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago brought the 90 to the top step of victory lane with another great drive from Richard Westbrook.
That was the heartbreaker. That was the heartbreaker for the 42 squad to lose that, and there you see it, the stats. 6 races over 47 hours. And that's what puts the lead here in perspective. This is the biggest one we've seen all season long, so great job by Oak Racing if they can hang on to it.
See if it gets a white flag this time. It's going to be close.
8.7 seconds last time by.
I think they're going to go around again.
Oh, yeah.
It gives Westy one more chance.
They could get 2 more laps in.
Yep, 2.5 to 5 more miles is what we're talking to catch up an 8-second
Plow has
deficit.
crossed. Here comes Westbrook. We'll check the gap.
They need traffic help. It's now blown out to 10.8. Yeah.
10.8. Yeah,
that'll be tough.
That was the traffic, and we knew that was going to do that.
Less credit to Richard Westbrook to jump in the car. They were running strong in the second spot, thinking about victory. To suddenly find yourself 30 seconds behind, he really had to regroup and did a great job with it.
There's your GT Daytona leader. Great job for this team, the Park Place squad.
This lead has got pretty close too, as you see Kevin Estra there trying to fight his way through some traffic. Jerome Bleekemolen has cut that lead from about 8 or 9 seconds down to 3. So look in the background, you're going to see that white Viper come into play here pretty quick. There he is.
That is him right there, giving room.
So Bleekemolen hasn't given up on victory here today.
A lot of fast cars working their way through here. It really messes up the rhythm. Nothing you can do about that, but it's give and take.
These wins don't come easy, do they, Dorsey?
No.
Kevin Estra's probably thinking, oh, I got plain sailing here, and suddenly gets a bundle of traffic. He looks in his rearview mirror and he sees that white Viper coming. No cars between them right now.
The Corvette's going to go by, and when he does, it's going to be mano a mano.
Headlights flashing to alert the driver ahead. Imagine what the traffic would be like if we had the Prototype Challenge class out here as well. Another 10 cars or so.
Look at Estra there. He doesn't want to give anything up. He's fighting right in that GTLM battle as well. So he doesn't want to give up any track position. He's been told on the radio, I'm sure, that Bleekemolen is coming. Don't give anything away.
Boy, Patrick Lindsay, Estra's teammate, was biting his nails midway through the race when Estra got in. He's got no nails left now.
That's what's so awkward with those GTD cars being so fast on the top end of the straightaway. You know,
look at Estra there. Nearly gets in the back of Tanzan Bell.
I think he did rub across the back of him.
He is putting everything on the line here. He knows that Bleekemolen is coming. He's having to fight his way through traffic. Fantastic stuff here.
That was a really good move. Look at this now.
The
GTLM Porsche makes contact. Opens the door for Bleekemolen, and he's through for the lead.
And they're bumping and rubbing through that corner.
Oh, man. Contact with one of the factory GTLM Porsches just made Estra bobble that little bit. And as you said, Calvin, open the door. Bleekemolen was right there to dive in.
Michael Christensen.
And
Estra may have a tire issue. He either just locked up the brakes or he's got some kind of cut down tire.
I think it just got in a little bit too tight, too over the top.
We
He's
expect
just trying
checkered
so
flag.
hard.
Checkered flag coming. And Bleekemolen able to gap the Porsche immediately. Oh, what a disappointment for Estra.
Did a great job.
The final lap of this race.
Yeah, these guys got another full lap to go because the leaders are now on their final lap. Here they see them right down in Moss Corner, turn 5.
GTLM BMW ahead.
Here comes Westbrook.
There's Westbrook. Just under 9 seconds the gap, but only a handful of corners remaining.
Without problems or mistake, that's probably not going to happen, but you never know. There's traffic all over this racetrack.
That's right.
Tremendous job by the 90 squad, coming off a second place run, a win, and now another runner-up finish. Good for points.
Into the S's one final time. And Olivier Pla will bring it home for the man who started it, Gustavo Jacoman. There's Jacoman celebrating with the crew and his engineers as Pla begins his lap of honor.
Oak Racing get their first win on U.S. soil, so successful over in Europe and at Le Mans, but what a big victory for that team.
I think we'll definitely see more of these P2-based prototypes in the future. On board now with our GTLM leader, Antonio Garcia, as he and Jan Magnussen will make it 4 straight victories in a season in which no other class has seen more than double winners.
Wow, what a roll they are on. Jan celebrates, there he is.
That's quite a performance. When you got a team car that's equal and all the other competition.
When you put a lap on your teammates, that shows the execution of that race car.
And here is the class leader in GT Daytona. Jeroen Bleekemolen was there when the opportunity presented itself, and he will take the victory for himself and teammate Ben Keating. A great finish to this 2-hour, 45-minute sprint. We'll take a break and begin the post-race celebrations and hear from our winners when we return. Welcome back. Our next race on the TUDOR United SportsCar Championship will be the Indianapolis Brickyard Grand Prix, July 25th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. As Olivier Pla climbs out of his race-winning prototype, let's take a look at the BMW race results for prototype.
Well, we talked about it. This racetrack should suit the P2 machines, and they made the point here on the pole and claimed their victory.
First victory in the series for both of the winning drivers, Pla and Jacoman. Let's get down to Brian Till.
How spectacular from the pole to the victory. The first for you guys, the 6th different winner on the season. How special is this win?
Man, I'm really, really happy for this. It's just been a fantastic win for me. It's a long time coming. The team has done a really, really amazing job. I just really want to thank them. We did the job that we came here to do. We came here to win, and we did this, but it's mostly for the guys. They've worked so hard all year. They really deserve this. I really, really want to thank them, man.
And it was a convincing win indeed, Bob.
Thanks, Brian. Here's a look at the championship after 7 rounds of prototype.
Well, the Taylor brothers extend the lead to 5 points, but look here, Jacoman now only 10 behind, Valiente and Westbrook 11.
Now let's get down to Jamie Howe.
Well, Jan Magnussen heading to victory lane to meet up with Antonio. Jan, 4 wins in a row. What does this say about the strength of Corvette racing?
Well, it's just an absolutely fantastic team. All the guys working on the car, do a fantastic job back home at the shop, make good decisions here. Kyle, our engineer, and Avi, our engineers, fantastic decisions, just plucking away at it all the time, making it better and better. And Antonio driving fantastically, so proud to be part of this.
Congratulations.
First victory for Antonio Garcia at this track. 6th for the man you just heard from, Jan Magnussen.
What can you say about the 3 team? 4 wins in a row. They're starting to stretch it now. Andy Prio, good job with Bill Oberlin, the BMWs. And, of course, the Vipers sat on the pole. We thought it was going to do better. Unfortunately, they're 19 points back. They got to get it in gear if they're going to catch that Corvette.
It's amazing. A factory class, all pro drivers, and that Corvette is just the truth. Here's our Audi move of the race, and it was for the victory in GTD.
Well, the door was opened for him by Michael Christensen there in the factory GTLM Porsche, but Jerome was ready. He pounced. What a move here with a couple of laps ago, claiming their first GTD victory.
His co-driver and car owner is with Brian.
Oh, how long ago Sebring feels like Ben after the fire there, the trials and tribulations. Does that make this first win in the Viper that much more special?
That much more sweet, that's for sure. It's been a long time coming. We both drove a great race. We had a great car. It was easy to drive, and that's all you can ask for at this kind of a track. High-speed track, lots of risk, and it was a lot of fun.
A lot of risk, especially at the end there, guys.
Congratulations. I just can't get over the Corvette team. 4 straight victories for one driver pair in a series in which everything is so competitive, nobody else can string together more than 2 wins if they can even get to the second.
And you know, at least the team car is up to equal stature, so I mean, for them to pull off 4, they've hooked up together, the 2 of them are working in sync, it's going to be tough to beat.
Let's check the points in GT Daytona. Bell and Sweedler remain up top, but by just 3. And look at those gaps. Remember, 35 points for a victory. I mean, 10, 15 drivers all covered by less than 1 race worth of points. And don't forget, that next race will be the Indianapolis Brickyard Grand Prix, July 25th, 7 p.m. Eastern here on Fox Sports 1. We thank you for joining us here north of the border. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, and Jamie Howe, I'm Bob Varsha. We'll see you from the Brickyard in a couple of weeks. Until then, so long from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. Time to go home after a great party, of course. So long, everyone.